the scientific demon of an anime Omniverse. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 176, Way, Lazy, and Flinda. Fantasy Hand, a dreamlike tool that can make you a person with special abilities. Ruko Satin held her phone, which contained something she had accidentally obtained, Fantasy Hand. Many people thought that this so-called thing that could make people special abilities was a drug or an auxiliary device. But in fact, it was just a song. Ruko Satin hesitated. The gap between the capable and the incapable, the envy of the abilities, the helplessness of the situation. Ruko Satin wanted to use it, but things that don't know the source are scary. She wanted to delete it, but the desire for abilities in her heart still prevented her from pressing her finger. "What are you doing?" Kato Megumi's voice suddenly appeared beside Ruko Satin. "Hey. Xia Yu, that is nothing?" "Ha ha ha." Ruko Satin instinctively hid her phone behind her back and laughed awkwardly to ease the embarrassment. "What is that? A song? Why did you hide it?" There's a problem." Kato Megumi narrowed her eyes and scanned Ruko Satin with her beautiful eyes. She could clearly capture the slight panic on Ruko Satin's face. Let me think about it. What can make you react like this, and even want to hide it from me?" "Well, maybe you even hid it from Misaka-san and the others." "That song, can't it be the one we talked about before, and the one that's been very popular recently?" Fantasy Hand. "Xia Yu, you are really too smart." Satin Ruko smiled bitterly. "It's not that I'm smart. You can hide it from Misaka-san and the others, mainly because they trust you very much. No one is a fool, as long as they want to investigate and are willing to investigate. Misaka Mikado, Hatsuharu Shiri, and Shirakurako have plenty of ways to find out. The main reason is that they trust Satin Ruko and don't want to do those things to Satin Ruko. So, you don't trust me, Xia Yu." Satin Ruko smiled bitterly and took out her phone from behind. I don't know. What is trust?" Kato Wei didn't know. She had no friends. To be precise, she had no friends before meeting Xia Yu, and no experience, so anyone would be instinctively alert. A lonely person always have such a habit. Even after they became friends, she still had this habit. Oh. If there was one person she was not wary of at all, it was Xia Yu. It was not because she trusted him, but mainly because she could not be wary of him. As long as Xia Yu wanted, he could manipulate her at will. After all, people would be wary of others, but not of higher beings such as country and God. "Here." Satin Ruko handed over the cell phone naturally. "What are you giving it to me? Aren't you going to delete it for me?" "Why should I delete it for you, huh? I do think this thing is not a good thing, but it's yours, and everything should be decided by you. I will only give you a few words of advice. This kind of thing with unknown origin is very dangerous. Don't make everyone worry." Kato Megumi's words were beyond Satin Ruko's expectations, and she couldn't help but smile. Xia Wei is like an adult who is full of moral principles. Ruko Satin opened her phone and turned to the song. "Didn't you agree to give me the Fantasy Hand?" The quarrel not far away attracted the attention of the two. Hey. Didn't you say you would give me the Fantasy Hand, huh? If you want this, take another 100,000, then give me the money back, It seemed to be a bullying incident. Ruko Satin and Megumi Kato hid at the corner and saw three strong-looking hooligans bullying a fat man. "Let's contact the security guard or the discipline committee first." The phone is out of battery, Ruko Satin wanted to ask Megumi Kato, but when she looked up, she saw the phone in Megumi Kato's hand that was turned off. "Tisk, we can't do anything about it. Both of us have no fighting power. Let's go." Because of her characteristics, Megumi Kato often walked on small paths and night roads. Anyway, no one could see her, and she saw a lot of shadows of Academy City. This kind of thing is not surprising. Since there is no other way, just leave and find someone else. Stop. That person is injured. I have notified the security guard." Satin Ruko still did not choose to leave with Kato Megumi, and Kato Megumi did not leave by herself. "Huh. A little girl. What are you talking about? Let me." "Hey. You are gangsters." A crisp voice came from behind Satin Ruko. Satin Ruko turned her head and saw a cute girl with a height of 1.5 meters, blonde hair and blue eyes standing at the T-junction. It was Flanda. Huh. Gangster, stinky girl, do you know what you are talking about? The two gangsters said to Flanda in a very arrogant manner. Well, today we wiped out a group of incompetent armed groups, a total of 4 people. Flanda took out a small notebook from under her skirt and began to record. Hey, what powerless armed group? We are genuine power users, and this fat guy is not one of us. Trash like him is not worthy. Yeah, then he is now. Recently, the fantasy hand has been rampant, resulting in a large number of former powerless people, that is, gangsters, gaining powers, and these guys have become more unscrupulous in doing evil after gaining powers. So, Xia Yu began to eliminate them. The Anbu and the security guards went out together. If you are caught by the security guards, you will be locked up for 2 days, but if you run into the Anbu. As for the Anbu, especially the hot props, Xia Yu pays special attention to them. Killing one of them is 50,000. So, there is the situation of Flanda killing innocent people to take credit. Although Xia Yu can always find out and punish this guy is stubborn. You, don't talk nonsense with her, she is still quite iconic, let's just have fun, the leading guy smiled. Sometimes, you can't say anything careless. If some petty guy hears that you're planning to cheat on him, you'll be ground into bone powder. Oh, your boyfriend? When we catch you, we'll send a paragraph to your boyfriend. Ha 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 Alice, those who want to die, even gods can't save them. Flanda reached her hands under her skirt, and with a movement similar to scattering flowers from the sky, she threw out puppets one by one. Gas sprayed from the tails of the puppets, and they automatically guided themselves to fly towards the enemy. Oh, this kind of thing. Boom 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 boom. Chapter 177 Franda, Liko, and Wei. The Anbu also has its own rules. Hiding in the dark and not being exposed to the light is also a rule of the Anbu. The puppets thrown by Flanda were just some small stun bombs, which could only make these guys faint for a few days. 200,000. I have money to sell canned mackerel. I want to buy a lot. The canned mackerel has been sold out. There seems to be a rumor recently that mackerel can be good for beauty. It's also very popular, Kato Megumi said suddenly. What? Flanda was struck by lightning, and she didn't even have the mood to care when Kato Megumi appeared. It's over. Flanda was shocked, and her whole face seemed to have faded. She didn't have the courage to throw bombs to kill the gangsters before, but instead looked like a child abandoned by her family. What's wrong? It's just a meal. Can't you go earlier tomorrow? Kato Megumi looked at Flanda with some doubts. Flanda's performance was just like an addict who had quit drugs. No, if you don't take it for a long time, that is, for half a day, you will have hallucinations and trembling hands and feet. Is there opium in that thing? By the way, are you a fallen girl who is drugged by bad guys? If so, I advise you not to eat it. Kato Megumi looked at Franda, who is like a drug addict, and complained expressionlessly. Well, I have a little here, otherwise, let me repay you for this favor. Satinruko took out a can from her bag, which was exactly what Franda wanted, canned mackerel. Okay, you are really not polite at all. I should have saved you, right? Isn't it right for you to repay me with something? How should I put it? Although it is true, it sounds weird, Kato Megumi said with a bitter smile. Well, don't worry about it, Xia, let's go together. Oh, I am the discipline committee, Shirakurako suddenly appeared on the side, pulled up the armband and was about to declare, but stopped abruptly. Shirai-san. How could you, Satin-san? Kato-san? And, what happened here? Can you explain it to me? After a moment. Oh. So that's it. Thank you so much for saving me, classmate, Shirakurako thanked Flanda. No, they already have something to repay me. Repay? Shirakurako looked at Satinruko in confusion. Satinruko raised the can in her hand. Although a little confused, Shirakurako didn't care too much. Anyway, it didn't matter if the repayment would not hurt Satinruko and the others. Hey, Shirai-san, do you want to come with us? No, I'm here to investigate the fantasy hand. Although we've caught the criminal, it seems that we can't figure it out for the time being. I need, fantasy hand? I'll send it to you later. Huh? A moment. I see. I didn't expect that the fantasy hand is actually a song. Tisk. No wonder it's so hard to verify. Anyway, I still have work to do next. When Satin-san gets home and charges her phone, please send it to me immediately. Shirakurako finally knew why the fantasy killer was so difficult to contain. She originally thought it was some drug or device, but it turned out to be just a song, which was quite troublesome. I have something else to do here. I'm leaving first. Satenruko watched Shirokurako's figure quickly disappear from the spot, scratched her head and said, Shirai-san is very busy, don't worry about her, let's go. Flanda jumped and pulled Satenruko over. By the way, why am I here? Kato Megumi looked at the curry mackerel rice in front of her in a daze. Hey, why is it curry? This is simply a blasphemy to mackerel. When you eat curry, everything will taste like curry, and the flavor and deliciousness of mackerel will all disappear. This kind of thing, sorry, I don't know if you don't like it, do you want to try it? Satenruko said a little embarrassedly. After all, Frenda did save her. If it weren't for Frenda, she might have been in a different situation. This kind of, The hot curry plus the mellow and delicious mackerel not only did not cancel each other out, but also complemented each other. Dancing gracefully on the tip of the tongue, Frenda praised while eating, and a strange sense of deja vu appeared in front of Satenruko and Kato Megumi. Satenruko smiled awkwardly. In short, it's really delicious, Kato Megumi said simply and clearly. Zio Wei is still as sharp as ever. Ruko Satin's face twitched slightly, and for a moment she felt like she wanted to laugh, but didn't dare to because it was impolite. The two words Kato Wei perfectly expressed what Franda meant at the moment. Another bowl. Franda's blue eyes seemed to shine, and the way she handed the plate was a bit like a puppy waiting to be fed, which was irresistible. As long as you like it. Hey, you are really capable. Next time, I will come to eat for free. Franda happily patted Ruko Satin's shoulder. It seems I am being relied on. Ruko Satin had a strange feeling. Next time, make miso mackerel or soy sauce mackerel. Still mackerel. Looking at the lively girl in front of her, Ruko Satin smiled awkwardly. Well, thank you for the hospitality. I'll go back first. Be careful. Yeah, who are you talking to? By the way, where is that kid who just ate with us? Xia whose invisibility is still so excessive? Ruko Satin smiled awkwardly, while Flanda in front of her was looking for Kato Megumi, who was only less than 10 meters away from her with a puzzled look. Forget it. It's so late. I'm leaving. Be careful. It's not safe at night. It's okay. I still hope that someone will come to me for trouble. So I can earn a bounty. Bounty? Game fans. Ruko Satin scratched her head. And Flanda's figure gradually disappeared at the stairs. Well, I was saved by a strange person. Ruko Satin's mobile chat app has a new name, Flanda. Flanda was humming a song while walking, and suddenly the song stopped. Frenda, you killed a good man again and took credit for it. Well, he just fainted. Oh? Do you think this is important? You understand. I understand. Recently, I have something urgent to do, so I will update once every 3 days. I am very sorry. Chapter 178 Kiyaima Haruo. I can't believe that Fantasy Hand is just a song. By the way, can one's ability grow just by relying on a song? In the Discipline Committee studio of Branch 173, Shirokuraku and Hatsuharu Shiki were busy. Hatsuharu Shiki sat in front of the computer, her slender fingers operating the computer skillfully, and lines of code were quickly typed out. Shirokuraku was beside Hatsuharu Shiki, her eyes fixed on the mobile phone connected to the computer. As the screen flashed, the song sent by Satenruko was being transferred to the computer by Hatsuharu Shiki and explored. How is it, Hatsuharu? Shirokuraku heard the sound of Hatsuharu Shiki's keyboard tapping stop, and her eyes looked at the screen. The song Fantasy Hand was slowly running in the middle of the lines of code, and it seemed that the result had been obtained. No problem? It's strange, it's just an ordinary song, and it doesn't seem to be anything special. This was given to me by Satin-san. There shouldn't be any problem. Could it be that Satin-san was deceived? Tisk. It's not impossible. Well, so, the superpower seems to be about the research of the human brain. Atsuharu, you contact Mr. Kiyaima. I remember that Mr. Kiyaima is an expert in human brain studies. Maybe she can give me some clues. Okay, Mr. Kiyaima, whose full name is Haruo Kiyaima, is a researcher who lacks common sense and is a bit weird, whom they met by chance. He has a very valuable degree in human brain science. Atsuharu Shiki immediately called Haruo Kiyaima. Hello. Mr. Kiyama, I'm Hatsuharu. It's like this. We have something we'd like to ask you for help with. Just as Hatsuharu Shiki was contacting Kiyama Haruo, Shirai Kurako glanced at the fantasy hand and thought, well, fantasy hand. Can this kind of thing really improve one's abilities? No. According to the situation, it seems to be true. The main thing is, why does this kind of thing need to be spread secretly? Is there any price? Or, is there any other problem? Mr. Kiyama, is it really possible to improve one's abilities by relying on audio software? Hatsuharu Shiki also asked this question. Well, this kind of thing, maybe. If it's a learning device, maybe it can be possible. In the AIM Research Institute, Kiyama Haruo was playing with headphones in his hands and communicating with Hatsuharu Shiki. Learning device? Is there such a thing? Of course there is. But this involves confidentiality, so I won't tell you more. So, I'll study this and report to you immediately if there is any situation. Okay, then I'll trouble you. After hanging up the phone, Kiyama Haruo turned on his mobile phone. A duplicate audio software was very conspicuous. Learning device? That kind of thing is in the hands of the higher-ups. Oh? Really? Security guards. Only when they are ordered from above can they act so quickly. Well, it seems that I should also take action. Kiyama Haruo's eyes were heavily rimmed with dark circles. He glanced out the window. One by one, the security guards had quickly entered the building. Kiyama Haruo quickly turned on the computer and opened a source file. It was the code that Hatsuharu Shiri had decomposed with a fantasy hand. Beep beep. Just as Haruo Kiyama was about to operate, the computer screen went black. Tisk. Did you hack my computer in an instant? Tisk. Great. You can even use a tree diagram for such a small thing. Haruo Kiyama narrowed his eyes, and a beast-like hatred flashed in his eyes as if he wanted to eat people alive. Haruo Kiyama, you are arrested. Boom. His eyes turned blood red, and a hurricane danced in Haruo Kiyama's hands. In this office of less than 20 square meters, a huge airflow burst out. The air wave broke through the glass, rolled up the documents, and the security guard who had just entered was directly blown away, hit the wall, and fainted. Ability user, the leader was naturally Yamaka Eho. She was downstairs at the moment. Suddenly, the glass on the third floor exploded directly, and a figure floated in the air. It was Haruo Kiyama. Kiyama Haruo had no intention to kill, at least not towards these guards, but when she saw them, her hatred for their inaction still prompted her to take action. Kiyama Haruo waved his arm, and a strong airflow swept through the air and hit the ground heavily. The air wave lifted the guard directly and threw him heavily to the ground. Attack. Activate the strategy against the ability user. Anesthetic bullets were fired at Kiyama Haruo. Clang clang clang. The invisible barrier bounced the bullets away. Multiple ability users. Although Yamaka Eho was not a researcher and had not received the ability user development, she was able to serve as the captain of the guards and had considerable knowledge. That was obviously not an airflow. The attack in front and the defense in the back were two abilities at all. I'm not a multi-ability user. My ability is different from that strictly impossible ability. I should be called a multi-ability user. As Kimura Haruo said this, he continued to attack. He clenched his right hand and launched an invisible attack on the security guard. Zzzz. With a burst of electromagnetic flashes in the air, Kimura Haruo was stunned for a moment. Is this electromagnetic force? No. Is it the AIM force field? Blocking and interfering with my ability in the air through the AIM force field. As a researcher of human brain science and AIM force field, Kimura Haruo quickly understood the situation just now. This is the security guard strategy against ability users, using special equipment to interfere and form a forbidden magic field within a certain range. Tisk. I won't waste time with you here, otherwise it will be bad if I attract troublesome characters. Kimura Haruo's body became blurred and disappeared in the next moment. Space movement? Multi-ability user. Yamaka Eho looked at the place in the sky where Kimura Haruo had disappeared, and muttered to herself. Kimura Haruo, the culprit of the fantasy hand incident, has now fled. The fantasy hand incident caused nearly 10,000 people to fall into coma. It is speculated that it was Haruo Kiyama who controlled their brains through the fantasy hand, causing them to fall into deep dream. Haruo Kiyama is very dangerous. He calls himself a multi-talented person and has many abilities of about level 4, including but not limited to airflow control, space movement, barrier, etc. Please report it immediately after seeing it, and do not attack it without authorization. Chapter 179, Kiima Haruo's Anger. What? I didn't expect that we actually found the mastermind behind the scenes to be our advisor, Shirakurako bit her lip and said with some self-mockery. It was she who decided to ask Kiima Haruo to help with the development of Fantasy Hand, but she didn't expect that she would be the mastermind in the end. Tisk. I was really tricked. Oh. Well, no one expected this. After all, it's too coincidental, Satenruko comforted, or should I say comforted Shirakurako. But, it's a good thing that I didn't use that. As expected, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Satenruko couldn't help but think of it in her heart. Ever since she knew that the user of Fantasy Hand was unconscious, Satenruko couldn't help but feel a little scared. Kurako, let's go catch her. Misaka Mikado was full of fighting spirit. She was very curious about the so-called multi-talented person and wanted to compete with him. No. Oni-sama is, okay, I know. As soon as Shirakurako opened her mouth, Misaka Mikado knew what she was going to say, and dealt with it with a disappointed look on her face. Alice. This Kiima Haruo is very dangerous. The Discipline Committee headquarters has not allowed us to interfere in this matter, so Oni-sama, you should not take risks. Headquarters? I remember that, where Xia Yu is. I didn't expect that guy to be scared too. No, Oni-sama, that guy won't be scared. He's probably going to do something again. I guess, he just doesn't want to hurt us by mistake. Shirakurako looked out the window. Under the sunshine, the city was thriving, like a big tree, constantly growing vigorously. And the power is the same as the tree. The more vibrant the place that can be seen on the soil, the larger the roots in the dark are, absorbing nutrients. Shirakurako is a discipline committee member. She is not too involved in the darkness of the city, and she is actually not qualified to be involved. She just knows that the city is not so perfect. However, she knew that they were so comfortable because of the willful, unreliable, but reliable chairman. Sometimes, accepting comfort is also a kind of recognition of the other party. Kimura Haruo fell to the ground. In front of her was a destroyed research institute. Her expression changed quickly, and her expressionless face became gloomy. Her eyes seemed to be filled with blood. Her blood-red eyes seemed to be a beast that was angered. Hurricane swept along with her anger. This was one of the residences of her former students, who had become vegetables. After an experiment, these students all fell into coma. In order to wake these students up, she continued to study the human brain and had conjectures. However, when she applied for the supercomputer tree diagram of Academy City to perform deduction and simulation, the top management of Academy City rejected her application without hesitation. 23 times. She applied 23 times. In this process, she gradually began to get to know the truth. The original experiment, the experiment in the human brain, was doomed to fail from the beginning. Those students who were abandoned in Academy City for various reasons and adopted, were destined to be abandoned from the beginning. As a researcher, the most taboo and disqualified thing is to develop feelings with the test subjects. She is not a good researcher, nor a good teacher. Teacher. We believe in you. When those children lay on the test bench, they still smiled and trusted her. Kiima Haruo failed their trust. They did not wake up again. They all fell into deep sleep, into a dream that was almost impossible to wake up. Kiima Haruo hid them and placed them in various corners of Academy City. In order to save these children, Kiima Haruo needs a supercomputer like the tree diagram. Since Academy City does not approve, she will build one. Fantasy Hand. She is an expert in human brain studies. Through the research on AIM force fields and human brains, she created the Fantasy Hand. Fantasy Hand can be understood as the Internet of human brain science. Through the terminal of Fantasy Hand, nearly 10,000 brains are connected together. The overlap of computing power has increased dramatically, allowing Haruo Kiima to obtain computing power that is no less than that of tree diagram. Now, she has finally started to treat her students. But, the place where her students were placed was destroyed, and the students' life and death are unknown. Calm down. It's not confirmed yet. The breeze poured into the research institute, and the wind became Haruo Kiima's palm. He quickly groped in the research institute. There is no living thing. The gentle breeze turned into the roar of the gods, and the hurricane ravaged the land wantonly. The entire research institute was lifted up and thrown into the air. Anger occupied Haruo Kiyomiya's brain, which had been calm for nearly 10 years, and the terrifying computing power began to get out of control. When Haruo Kiyomiya was calm, she controlled the fantasy hand to connect the brains of nearly 10,000 people. And when she herself had problems, the thoughts and consciousness of nearly 10,000 people would in turn erode her brain. However, she has not completely lost control yet. This is just one place. There are other places. Although she knows that once the guys in Academy City make a move, there will basically be no loopholes for her, but people, when facing desperate situations, always hold a glimmer of luck, and this glimmer of luck is also called hope. She wants to go to other places, to other resettlement places. Don't be busy. Teacher Mushin, all the surviving children in that experiment have been placed in the hospital by me. Don't get me wrong. I have no ill intentions, the space seemed to be distorted in some way, and time seemed to be in chaos. Mushin Haruo's emotions calmed down instantly, and his blood-red eyes swept around. It seemed as if he had left the earth here, and all the rules of the earth seemed to have disappeared. What kind of ability is this? She looked at the figure in front of her, and her words were full of deep confusion. Distorting the world. Modifying the world through the AIM force field. Incredible, should I say, you are worthy of being the trump card of Academy City. Eternal variable? Eternal and variable? At first I was very curious about this title, but when I saw you at this moment, I seemed to understand it inexplicably. Xia Yu just stood there, and did not unfold a shadow of you, just standing there in a plain way. However, in the eyes of Kiyomiya Haruo, there was no figure, but the whole world. Chapter 180 Dominate the world and distort everything. Eternal variable? Eternal and variable, these are two completely opposite words. However, the moment Kimura Haruo saw Xia Yu, she understood. She couldn't describe it in words, and she didn't even know how to understand it. Hello, Kimura teacher, you have been causing me a lot of trouble recently, being able to cause trouble to the ace of Academy City. It seems that I am also a #1 character. Ace? Are you talking about me? The ace is also a joker, a clown? Well, maybe in the eyes of some beings, I am just a clown. However, it is indeed interesting. I don't know if people who make poker have this idea. The joker is also an ace. Maybe it is the key blow given by the clown? Are you over-interpreting it? I am just simply praising it. Ho ha ho ha. Sorry, I am just that kind of person. How about it? My distorted world. Magic is the key to distorting the world. It is the interpretation of the world. When the unknown becomes known, the known can be distorted to offset the known, and the 103,000 magic books contain almost all the knowledge in the world. Xia Yu transformed these 13,000 magic books into superpowers and distorted the world through the power of AIM force field. AIM force field is a superpower derivative substance controlled by mental will, and its general concept is similar to magic power. Since magic can be driven by magic power, it is natural to drive ability through AIM force field. An ability itself is actually a kind of magic, so it is naturally feasible to transform magic into ability. Normal material bodies cannot mature the conflict between magic and ability system, so the transformation will cause trauma to the body, but for Xia Yu's body where matter and concepts coexist, there is no problem. Xia Yu's body is a human body composed of matter and concepts. According to the principle that mystery will succumb to a stronger mystery, Xia Yu's body can suppress the conflict between ability and magic, or their conflict cannot cause harm to Xia Yu. So it constitutes Xia Yu's current superpower. Distorted world uses calculations to drive the AIM force field to decompose, distort and change the rules of the world. Theoretically, Xia Yu is now able to do something similar to the demon god, provided that he has the same quantity as the demon god. In other words, in terms of quality, Xia Yu is on par with the demon god, but in terms of quantity, the demon god is infinite while Xia Yu is limited. How should I put it? It feels like using an anti-aircraft gun to hide a mosquito, mainly. I seem to be that mosquito. Kiyomiya Haruo glanced around. Her fantasy hand was a combination of the abilities of nearly 10,000 people. In essence, it was a little similar to Xia Yu. It was almost a low-profile copycat version of Xia Yu. However, there were some similarities. Therefore, Kiyomiya Haruo probably saw a little bit of the situation through seeing the leopard through the tube. Please surrender. Your value is very good. Now, stop the fantasy hand. I can lend you the tree diagram. From a rational point of view, I should surrender now. If I fight with you, I will definitely lose miserably. But Kimiyama Haruo's eyes flashed with white light, and telekinesis squeezed Xia Yu. I don't believe in Academy City's style anymore. You, all of you high-ranking officials. I don't trust any of them. It's like a group of robbers going after a country. Even if they know they will lose, few people will choose to hand over their last weapon. Even if they seem to have promised conditions, if they hand over their weapons, then the other party has the final say. Is that so? Maybe I should let you see the difference? Xia Yu snapped his fingers, and Kimura Haruo's eyes returned to normal. It seemed that a barrier was inserted into his brain, and he could no longer remember how to use telekinesis. Spiritual trip, Leicester's signature magic. Xia Yu combined the knowledge of 103,000 magic books through psychological control and successfully deduced the ability version. In an instant, Xia Yu inserted a wall into Kimura Haruo's brain through the hint of snapping his fingers, making her unable to recall the switch to use her ability. Xia Yu took out a Walkman. Beep, a song was played. Fantasy hand. Kimiyama Haruo's eyes narrowed. She stared at Xia Yu, not knowing what Xia Yu was going to do. At this time, he wanted to release the fantasy hand. Suddenly, a new unit connected to the fantasy hand network. Is it him? Extract. Although Kimiyama Haruo was confused, she would not miss this opportunity. She immediately extracted the computing power and ability in Xia Yu's mind. Just like a processor overclocking, Kimiyama Haruo's brain crashed directly, and a large amount of knowledge gathered in her brain. It was a text she had never seen before. Kimiyama Haruo herself could no longer feel the fantasy hand. The large amount of knowledge made her head swell and ache. She forgot all the switches of her superpowers, and her body knelt on the ground. The pain made her toss and turn, and her eyeballs seemed to want to bulge out. Her mouth opened instinctively, and saliva kept flowing out. That knowledge made Kimiyama Haruo feel that she could control the world and modify everything in the world at will. However, it was like playing a 3A game with a washing machine. It was simply not working, and it couldn't even be turned on. Now, Kimura Haruo realized that what he had originally thought of as an overestimation was actually an underestimation, and it was a very serious low point, even to the point of contempt. If you can master these, you can not only save those children, but also destroy the entire Academy City and vent your dissatisfaction. But I give you a chance, but you are useless. Xia Yu disconnected the connection with the fantasy hand. The knowledge originally engraved in Kimura Haruo's mind disappeared silently, leaving nothing behind. Kimura Haruo fell to the ground with a look of relief. She couldn't even lift a finger now. It's terrible. Instinctively, Kimura Haruo felt fear for Xia Yu. Zzzz. Something gushed out of Kimura Haruo's body, and the AIM force field formed a twisted and irregular embryo, and a halo like an angel appeared on its head. Oh, pollution can actually breed such a monster. The spiritual pollution and evil thoughts of nearly 10,000 people formed a monster in front of him. It stretched out its hand towards Xia Yu and kept making strange sounds. Give me those. It was a monster formed by nearly 10,000 people's unwillingness to their own power. They found the power they really wanted in Xia Yu. Dominate the world and distort everything. Chapter 181 Truth and Beauty. Give it to me, give it to us, you guys, if we have the power. The twisted and bloated flesh seemed to form a hand-like shape and stretched out towards Xia Yu. The arm seemed to be a twisted shape composed of countless hands. It was something made up of the true thoughts of nearly 10,000 people. Well, if you were given such power at the beginning, maybe you would be like the vast majority of capable people under the current Academy City system, and most of you would abide by the law and maintain this system, but now I give it to you. I really don't think a group of incompetent, furious, self-righteous idiots can do anything. Apart from wantonly indulging their twisted emotions like street thugs, I'm afraid they can't do anything decent. Well, science gives everyone a chance. If you want it, come and get it. If you want it, find a way to get it. Science is just a tool for moving forward. There are many such tools. Everything that can be used belongs to science, and it can be used by heroes who serve the country and the people, or unscrupulous terrorists. However, this tool can also be simple or complex. The simple ones are elementary mathematics, and the difficult ones are relativity. What kind of ability do you have? What kind of tool do you use? If you don't have the skills, don't take on the job. Using tools that you can't control, the result is predictable. People will warn incompetent people not to touch props that they shouldn't touch. But Xia Yu won't. Dare to ask him for knowledge, Xia Yu will give it, Whether you can use it or not, and what to use it for? No matter what. Zzz, the huge arm seemed to want to grab Xia Yu, and thunder seemed to appear out of nowhere in the void. Each one seemed to cut off the world. The space was cut, the laws were distorted, and the huge arm disappeared in an instant. Ah! It is the cruelty of the world, the real cruelty, which they cannot accept, so, they deceive themselves. They are too greedy, they want all the wisdom of Xia Yu, the wisdom that has gathered most of the wisdom from ancient times to the present, born from history, and permeated the entire history, which is enough to transcend time and space, and be separated from the supreme wisdom of matter and spirit. To have such wisdom, one must accept the reality of the world. Beauty is not a momentary feeling, but reality is eternal, and reality is definitely not beautiful. Some people will choose ugly reality, some people will choose beautiful beauty, but, basically everyone will choose beauty. Even actively forget those realities, because, people are yearning for a beautiful life after all. And a mere 10,000 people? This is the wisdom of the entire human history, hundreds of billions, and even endless. A group of kindergarten students intend to thoroughly learn the research of scientists such as Einstein? No way. Who are they looking down on? The wisdom born of billions of years has experienced the erosion of time. They have been passed down to this day, and they are just guys who have only been around for millions of years. How dare they touch the truth that can drive the wise man crazy? Give it to me, give it to us. You guys are like this, you strong men are like this, you look down on us, you are not willing to give it to us, you are afraid that we will gain the power to overthrow your rule, big and small. Malicious voices rang out from the monster's body at the same time, and the voices echoed, as terrifying as the echo of hell. Huh? Ho ha ho ha, you are right in one sentence. I really look down on you. If you want it, come and get it. The power is within reach. Reach out. Xia Yu's face at this moment can be described in 2 words, arrogant. Facing Xia Yu's further approach, the huge deformed monster instinctively retreated behind him. Humility is reserved for those who are on par with you. When a person is not as good as you from beginning to end and is left behind by you, humility is hypocrisy. It's so boring. Xia Yu also felt boring. These guys are just mediocre people. Mediocre is not a derogatory word, but an adjective. They envy what they have, but when the opportunity comes, they will retreat because of various worries. Once they find that others are successful, they will envy and hate, and think that giving them a chance is also okay. They are greedy for small profits and afraid of wind and rain. This is a mediocre person, or mortal, an ordinary person. Enough. Stop it, it's time to wake up. Go back to your normal life and be yourself. Lightning flashed from all around for no reason, tearing the monster's body apart, and strange sounds spread from the wounds and spread to every individual connected by the fantasy hand. I didn't expect that such a monster would be born through the AIM force field. It's really amazing. Let's call it a fantasy beast. Kimura Haruo raised his head and looked at the huge figure that was dissipating, muttering in his mouth. Now, what do you think of my suggestion just now? Do I still have room to refuse? Then very good, welcome to join, Mr. Kimura. The sky became clear again, and the world seemed to be on the right track again. All the distortions collapsed and smoothed out, or twisted again. Xia Yu looked into the distance, and the sirens sounded long. The guards had arrived. He took a step back, and the space was replaced, and Xia Yu's figure disappeared on the spot. Is this a true multi-talented person? Or, it doesn't make any difference to call him a multi-talented person. No, maybe he should be called a god. Kimura Haruo put on a silver bracelet on her wrist, and her eyes were still fixed on Xia Yu's original position. It was really an incredible power. The most terrifying thing about distorting the world is that it can even distort people's hearts. Such power may indeed be no different from the gods in religious doctrines. The trump card of the science side is actually a god? Haha, Kimura Haruo smiled self-deprecatingly. In fact, she knew that Xia Yu should be called a high-level human, or a high-level life form, compared to gods. Tisk, the fourth dimension? Or a higher dimension? Does it come from the starry sky? Or somewhere else? Don't tell me that this thing was born from the planet under my feet. In fact, this planet can indeed give birth to some incredible existences, and even more incredible existences. Chapter 182 The Storm is Coming. July 25th. Well, are you going back? Tell me about a plan, I'll see how much time it takes to get ready and go get you, Xia Yu said to Kamizuki Kori and still while feeding Index. Hey. We're just going back to question the Archbishop, and even if there's an accident, we don't need you to come get you. It's much more comfortable there than here, Still said in a very unhappy tone. He had been half asleep and half awake for these days, and when he woke up, he felt a little grateful to Xia Yu because Kamisaki Kori told him the truth. However, seeing Xia Yu's look of contempt for him, he couldn't help himself. I mean to save Kamisaki, you? The Puritan Church wants to kill you, and you can survive until I come to save you? Don't take yourself too seriously, you, a rough man. Are you worthy of my trip? You, faced with Xia Yu's impolite words, still could only be helpless and furious. Who said Xia Yu was right? As long as the Puritan Church has ideas about them, Kamisaki will be fine. After all, he is a saint, and it will definitely not be so easy to take him down in a short time. However, although he is a genius magician who created the 24 symbols, he is just a small insect in the Puritan Church. He can be crushed to death. Stop talking, still, you don't have to go back with me. It's true, this is not good for you, Kamisaki. Index is also my friend. I won't allow myself to remain silent. At least, I must go back and question that female vixen. When Stale thought of the so-called female vixen, he couldn't help but feel itchy. In his opinion, that guy is even more hateful than Xia Yu. Index swallowed the cake in Xia Yu's hand in one gulp. The whole person was like a squirrel with a mouthful of pine cones. The cute posture made people unconsciously smile. Take good care of Index. If you make her unhappy, I will never let you go. Still knew the gap between him and Xia Yu, and he also knew that his behavior at the moment was as ridiculous as a young rabbit baring its teeth at a lion, but he still said so. Don't worry about it. This is my little wife. I will take care of her myself. Xia Yu glanced at Still and didn't take his so-called threat seriously. What he called forcing was just something Xia Yu would do. Xia Yu stretched out his hand and touched Index's little head. Hey Papa. Xia Yu's hand was constantly knocked down by Index's little hand, and Xia Yu was also interested. He had to touch it today. It was like touching a kitten and being rejected by the kitten. Not only did it not discourage Xia Yu's behavior, but it also aroused Xia Yu's interest. Don't touch my head. Index shook her head in dissatisfaction and pushed Xia Yu's hand away. Tisk Still saw this scene and walked out unhappy. And Kamiya Kori bowed slightly, turned around and embarked on the journey. It would be difficult to come back this time. It was okay for Still, but Kamiya Kori would probably not come back. The reason was simple, because the Puritan Archbishop wanted to see Xia Yu, to see this unexpected singularity. And Xia Yu was not worried. At this moment, he was no longer a person that the Puritan could keep. As long as he wanted to go, wanted to leave, there was nothing in the world that could keep him. Ouch. Index seemed to be impatient with Xia Yu's head patting, and bit Xia Yu's hand, like an angry kitten, biting Xia Yu's hand with her cute milk teeth. My little wife, do you like biting people so much? Come, I'll show you something good. Bite as you like. No, I don't want to see it. Come, let me show you. According to the laws of this city, your behavior will be shot. Shoot? If you want to shoot me, I can give you an AK so you can shoot me to your heart's content, but now, you have to let me shoot you to your heart's content. I don't want to. I don't want to see it. Woo woo. How is the artificial heaven plan? It has been carried out for most of the time, and those so-called documents have basically been completed. Very good. It's been half a year. I can feel that the world is taking shape. We will be the creators of that new world. It's amazing. We will become gods. In the research institute responsible for the artificial heaven plan, the researchers looked fanatical. It was obviously a very modern research base, but these guys seemed to behave like a cult organization. Is it going to be completed? Is it going to be completed? Fatsuko Tashin looked at the Misaka sisters below through the glass, with excitement that could not be concealed between his brows. The spirits of these scientists are connected to a new world. It is precisely because they feel the continuous perfection of that new world that they show such an attitude. Science and magic, known and unknown, man and God, have never been in opposition. It is a process of continuous transformation. God does not exist, and you will not become God. But you will become a greater life. The world is distorted, the researcher's vision is distorted, and that brilliant and incredible figure appears here. Awis. On the surface, Fuso Tashin is in charge of the artificial heaven plan, but in fact it is Awis who carries it out personally. The angel representing science, the angel symbolizing atheism, this incredible life, whispered. Yes. Lady Awis, no one will question Awis. because she herself is an unsubverted truth. In science, there is no absolute truth. All truth will be subverted, but the unsubverted truth is the cornerstone for moving forward. Amidst the cheers, the first test subject who woke up in the last experiment opened his eyes. Xia Yu's complex expression flickered in her eyes, which was not the expression that a man-made creature should have. She glanced around, and figures that were no different from her woke up one after another. An indescribable feeling surged into her heart. An invisible thread connected them. These almost identical figures were penetrated by the thread and arrived at that special place together. No one was different, as if they were the same. Silent. Electric current began to flash on her body, and lightning flashes quickly expanded. Boom! A huge explosion occurred in the experimental base, and a figure escaped from here. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183, Misaka Kyoko's Escape? Well, a Misaka sister escaped? And her ability has reached level 5? Who? Misaka Kyoko? I remember that she is the only one named by me. Okay, I know. Xia Yu put down the phone, put the sleeping index aside, and walked out of the room. Evans, what's wrong? A brilliant figure appeared behind Xia Yu. For Xia Yu, the distorted veil between the world and her caused by her entering the world is meaningless. Xia Yu can see her true face. Although there is no specific color and shape, the general appearance is a very beautiful woman, like a beautiful angel in fantasy. That appearance seems to be Aleister's wife. Hey. You were there, although it was a question, Xia Yu did say it in a very firm tone. Yes. I saw it, it's very interesting. Awas's voice sounded neither happy nor sad, and it was even distorted by a sound effect similar to silence, but Xia Yu heard the joy in her heart. You are also a pleasure offender, aren't you too? Not all of them, not all of them. Ha 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 ha. Stop talking nonsense. Come, tell me, what did you see? Unexpectedly, the closer a person is to omniscience, the more he desires unexpected things to happen. And this time, Misaka Kyoko's escape from the laboratory was also unexpected for Xia Yu. That is called Kyoko, right? This was the first time A was called a name. Although Xia Yu forced all Misaka's sisters to have a name, A was always called them by numbers. For him, even for most people, including Xia Yu, they can confirm with the numbers. Kyoko, she's very interesting, she seems to have a soul. What? Awas's words also made Xia Yu's eyes flash with a hint of surprise. Logically speaking, this is almost impossible. After all, she is just a man-made person. It seems that it is not impossible. Xia Yu thought about it carefully. He had previously speculated that the soul is a higher-level spirit, and inferred that the soul itself is infinite, like an infinite blank container. The devil is like taking a hammer and smashing the so-called container, so that the infinite objects called mystery are stacked towards the container. Because both are infinite, they have gained infinite power. The existence of angels is an infinite soul. They use a key to open a hole and bring something in. Although the total amount is similar, the one-time output is very different. That is, the status is similar to that of the devil, but there is indeed a gap between infinity and finiteness in power. The next level is human peak. Although they are similar to angels, they have added a layer of shackles of the flesh, which causes the soul to be dragged down, and the status is a little lower. However, in terms of combat power, peak humans are on par with angels, and in the material world, peak humans can basically beat angels, because the power of angels is difficult to exert in the material world and needs to rely on matter. With the help of matter, it is equal to peak humans. Therefore, peak humans and angels are actually the same level of existence, but the concept of existence is different. Therefore, the soul is infinite, so it seems that there is no difference in dividing the soul into two souls. It is difficult for the soul itself to do it, but it may not be impossible through the influence of material aspects. Maybe, Misaka Kyoko is an individual split from the whole soul of Misaka Mikado by some accident. Interesting, so interesting. It seems that I must find that Misaka Kyoko. Xia Yu's mouth was curved. This matter is not related to one of the most important plans, the artificial heaven plan, but this Misaka Kyoko alone is interesting enough. No. I can't go in person. My goal is to find out why she has a soul. This matter must be handed over to someone who can force her into a desperate situation. By the way, am I going too far? Xia Yu's mouth curled up, and he thought of a very good candidate. Hey, what do you want me to do? Suzuko Yuriko walked in with her hands in her pockets, looking unhappy. Well, you are very powerful. I wanted you to beg me, but it seems that I overestimated my own ability. How about a deal? Suzuko Yuriko put her long legs on the table, a suspicious look on her face, and said, I didn't expect that a guy like you would admit defeat. Is there any trap? Well, do you still remember Misaka Kyoko? You mean? Number 1, yes, of course I remember. What happened? She ran away. What? No way. No way. You are not kidding. Sorry, it's so funny, I couldn't help it. You actually told me that she ran away. She, a tool, actually ran away from you. Suzuko Yuriko laughed exaggeratedly, as if she had heard a joke that hit the point perfectly. Moreover, she arrogantly stretched her foot to Xia Yu's side. You are just a little bit away from being a celestial body, you can stretch a little closer, that's it? You want to scare me too, Suzuko Yuriko said arrogantly while retracting her legs. Help me catch her back. I'll give you what you desire. Desire? What do I desire? Use this. Woo! The familiar feeling came again, and the DNA that had been forcibly suppressed in the body was awakened again. You guy, ho go. I will help you find her. If you catch her back, I will give it to you, and you can choose the method. If you don't catch her, your extremely honest body will help you get it. You only have 3 days I want to live, understand? Xia Yu patted her seemingly thin but still fleshy buttocks, and his face was full of malice like a villain. You guy. Suzuko Yuriko's face was flushed, her breath was not smooth, and the strong impulse seemed to drive her body to take the initiative. Well, accelerator, I'm going to go and fix the hot props first, you can leave quickly. 3 days, not too much, not too little. Xia Yu waved his hand and showed a malicious smile, the kind of hateful smile that makes people want to punch him in the face. You guy. I remember, one day, I will punch you hard in the face. Chapter 184 New Urban Legend. July 27th, morning. Futsutashin came out of the laboratory early and walked on the street. She changed her conspicuous white coat and kept wandering on the street. As for the purpose? She wanted to find Misaka Kyoko. In any case, Misaka Kyoko escaped from the laboratory she was in charge of. It was not that she was afraid of the punishment from the upper level, that is, Xia Yu. The main reason was that she wanted to find Misaka Kyoko first, find the reason for her escape, and persuade her to go back, so as to reduce the possible upper anger. Because she knew clearly the second layer of the truth of this city, and knew that Misaka Kyoko's escape was absolutely impossible to succeed. If she was caught by someone sent by the upper level, the situation would become unpredictable. Misaka Kyoko might not even be able to save her life. After all, no matter how Futsutashin looked at it, in the eyes of others, Misaka's sister was just a tool, and not the only tool, or the kind that could be mass-produced. It was normal to change a tool if it was disobedient. Therefore, if Futsutashin found it first, found out the reason, and took the initiative to return, everything would still have a chance. Moreover, in fact, Futsutashin was also somewhat curious about the reason why Misaka Kyoko ran away. Why did she run away? Why did she run away? Why did she run away? Futsutashin was very curious. Because Misaka Kyoko only knew modern common sense and was penniless, and Futsutashin thought that she should be curious about this academy city, so Futsutashin chose to try his luck. Of course, the most important reason was that he had no means and was not able to search in a large area, so he could only try his luck. Futsutashin looked at the girl standing in front of the dessert shop, constantly looking around, and Futsutashin was stunned. So lucky, this was her first thought at the moment. Before she thought about it, she instinctively called out her name. Kyoko. Futsutashin's call attracted the girl's attention. She looked at Futsutashin, and then looked around in confusion. Futsutashin actually regretted calling out as soon as he called out. After all, once Misaka Kyoko saw her, she would definitely think that she was here to catch her. In fact, it was almost the same. She would definitely run away anyway. How could a skinny researcher like Futsutashin catch up with Misaka Kyoko, who has become a level 5 special individual? Even if Misaka Kyoko overreacts and destroys the surroundings, it will be even worse news for Fatsuki Toshin. But after glancing around, the girl confirmed Fatsuki Toshin's sight, swiped her fingers twice, and then pointed at herself in surprise. No, of course not. Misaka Kyoko couldn't be so calm, and couldn't behave like this, but considering that she was an extra individual who escaped from the laboratory, it might not be that she was deceiving Fatsuki Toshin. Fatsuki Toshin's expression became suspicious, and he didn't dare to confirm. Misaka-senpai, Osaten-sen, Hatsuharu-sen, an acquaintance? No, Kyoko can't have an acquaintance. After all, it's the real person? Really, my luck is a bit bad. Misaka-senpai, I heard that you want us to be swimsuit models temporarily. Well, if you don't want to go, I do. Well, let's go. Kurako should be waiting for us over there soon. Misaka Mikado looked at the two girls with shining eyes in front of her and said a little unnaturally. She really didn't expect the two girls to be so enthusiastic. While dealing with Satenruko and Hatsuharu Shikari, Misaka Mikado suddenly remembered Fatsuki Toshin's call just now. She turned her head and Fatsuki Toshin was gone. Did you recognize the wrong person? It feels a bit strange. Misaka Mikado recalled Fatsuki Toshin's expression just now, and it really didn't seem like she recognized the wrong person. What's wrong, Misaka-senpai? Satenruko saw that Misaka Mikado was a little absent-minded and asked in confusion. Just now, Misaka Mikado told Satenruko about the situation. Satenruko showed a somewhat horrified expression. No way. Could it be? What's wrong? Saten-sen. Misaka Mikado was also aroused by the fear in her heart by Satenruko's expression. Misaka-senpai, this is the latest urban legend, the one following behind you. Satenruko's tone was very sinister, which made Misaka Mikado and Hatsuharu Shiki's heartbeats speed up instinctively. As Satenruko turned on her mobile phone and opened the urban legend website, the first urban legend on the homepage came into view. It was 2 nights ago. A group of hooligans molested a girl in a certain area. I didn't dare to intervene and just ran away. When I passed a corner, I met the girl again. The girl's eyes were cold and dead. Her appearance was exactly the same as the one over there. I turned around and observed that the hooligans were indeed surrounding one person, and this one and the other one were exactly the same. I thought they were twins. Although I didn't dare to interfere, I still said, in this case, I think it's better to call the discipline committee member. But she looked over here with a dead look, as if she was a puppet. It frightened me and I walked away quickly. This is the main content, and there are many similar incidents below, all of which occurred in these 2 days. Well, if you think about it carefully, it's not likely. It's probably just an ordinary mistake of recognizing someone. Satenruko only thought of this a little bit. In fact, if you think about it carefully, she herself thinks it's impossible. However, Misaka Mikado's expression completely changed. Her expression became horrified, and cold sweat could not help but flow down her back. It was obviously a hot summer season, but she could feel a chill. Because she had been to these places, and what happened at those times. Of course, she was the protagonist of the incident, or one of them. Someone has been following her. This thought made Misaka Mikado shudder, because her electromagnetic force could detect like a radar. Although it was not necessary to pay attention to a single person, the radar would definitely react to you if someone followed her for a long time. Could it be that it was a ghost as people fabricated in the so-called urban legend? Misaka Mikado, who grew up in Academy City, was an absolute materialist, but after this incident, she couldn't help but think so. If this incident had nothing to do with her, she would definitely laugh it off, thinking that it was just a story made up by others to attract attention, but as the protagonist of this story, or one of them, she felt uneasy. Chapter 185 The Princess and Queen of Tokaiwade. What's wrong? Senior Misaka, Ruko Saten saw that Misaka Mikado was absent-minded and had some slight changes in her expression. It's okay, I just feel a little scary. Misaka Mikado's face returned to a smile. No matter what? She didn't intend to let Ruko Saten and the others know about this. This matter might not be simple, and it might even be dangerous. Friends should not be involved in such things. You should do your own things well. And, maybe, it's just a fabrication of these guys? Maybe, it's completely fake, just a rumor. Although thinking so, Misaka Mikado was determined to investigate it clearly, otherwise, she really couldn't sleep or eat. However, today, She should complete today's task as agreed. Yesterday, several junior girls from the swimming club came to ask her to help as a swimsuit model because something happened to the senior girl who had originally accepted it. And Misaka Mikado accepted this request under the efforts of Kurako Shirai. As for Satin Ruko and Hitsuharu Shikari, when Misaka Mikado told them about me, they said they also wanted to come and see. Along the way, Misaka Mikado was a little absent-minded, still affected by the previous events, until Onisama Shirai Kurako teleported and suddenly hugged Misaka Mikado, and her face kept rubbing against her. With a lightning bolt that was just right, Shirai Kurako calmed down. However, Shirai Kurako's interruption also allowed Misaka Mikado to temporarily free herself from the problem. No matter what, she should finish the things in front of her, so. Why are you here? Misaka Mikado looked at the familiar and beautiful figure in front of her, and the muscles on her face began to twitch. Ah. It's Shakuhao Senpai, huh? Misaka-san? Shirai-san? Wane-san? Aobu-san? And the others, good morning. Misaka-san. Why are you here? No way. Could it be that, the other models are you? Shakuhao Misaki stroked her long golden hair and greeted everyone very politely. Then she put on a playful smile and looked at Misaka Mikado's body with a slightly provocative look. Then, hey. What's that expression on your face? Misaka Mikado, whose self-esteem was hit by Shakuhao Misaki's expression, said unhappily. Nothing? But is it really okay? After putting on a swimsuit, it will be clear who is better, you guy. For a moment, there was a tit-for-tat atmosphere. Hey. Xia, why are you here too? Satin Ruko spotted Kato Megumi sitting in the corner at a glance. I was caught as a soldier by the terrible chairman who doesn't do his job, Kato Megumi sighed helplessly. Eh? The chairman who doesn't do his job? That's not, welcome, I'm the photographer for this photo shoot. Welcome to all the ladies. It's really a great honor to have you here. A wild Xia Yu jumped out. Goodbye, Misaka Mikado clasped her hands and saluted, turning around to leave. She was already uncomfortable with Shakuhao Misaki being here, and now the photographer is a man, and it's Xia Yu. Misaka Mikado dislikes him even more. Oh. Are you scared? You're wise not to humiliate yourself. Friends may not understand you, but opponents definitely understand you. Shakuhao Misaki stopped Misaka Mikado's steps with a seemingly casual provocation. Darling, you haven't come to see me for a long time. It seems you are really busy. Shakuhao Misaki hugged Xia Yu's arm. The soft touch was intoxicating, and the charming fragrance was touching. But her little hand touched Xia Yu's waist. A 180-degree turn, venting her dissatisfaction to Xia Yu. Wrong, I will definitely come to you often next time. Oh, I'm being teased by Senior Xia Yu here, Satin Ruko said in disbelief. Huh? Didn't I tell you? The chairman's girlfriend is this. Queen of Takiwade, the sixth of the 8 superpowers in Academy City, the psychological controller. Shakuhao Misaki, Shirai Kurako said very calmly. You never said that, but Senior Xia Yu doesn't look like someone who has a girlfriend. Satin Ruko recalled that as long as she lifted up Hatsuharu Shikari's skirt, Xia Yu would appear instantly and flirt with a girl everywhere. However, thinking about it carefully, Xia Yu is sometimes very heroic and charming, with a handsome appearance, young and rich, strong, and a style. Let's not talk about this. It seems normal for him to have a girlfriend, but his daily behavior makes them misunderstand. Speaking of which, there's a strange sense of loss in Satin Ruko's heart. It's a bit like a longtime friend seems to have been robbed of part, but it feels different. It seems to be a similar but different feeling. Satin-san, if you have any ideas, don't worry about it. That guy has more than one girlfriend, eh? I remember that Academy City also has bigamy. Yes. Bigamy is a crime that only violates this law if you marry more than one person. I don't have any ideas. But, that? Shakuhao. Senior sister, won't you mind? Senior Xia Yu has so many girlfriends? Satin Ruko asked cautiously. I don't know about this kind of thing. I just know that he is very fickle. It's best if you don't have any ideas. It's not good either. You still need a little luck. Kato Megumi thought about it. It mainly depends on whether Xia Yu likes Satin Ruko. Otherwise, with the temperament of this scumbag, maybe it's possible that he will force himself on her in the end. Don't waste time, let's get started. With Misaka Mikado's gnashing teeth and looking at Shakuhao Misaki, Xia Yu took them into the swimsuit room. Then he was kicked out. At this time, "Boss, are you shooting in person?" "Of course. By the way, just draw Dove in the online picture area for this issue." What it means is don't send the pictures to anyone else. Send them to me directly and then delete them. Do you understand? Yes, are you kidding? How can you show the cabbages you grow at home to the outside world? Otherwise, they should be lush and green in a sense. As for the war between Misaka Mikado and Shakura Hamasaki, there is no doubt that Shakura Hamasaki will soon win a complete victory. The combat effectiveness of the two is equivalent to that of Komi Ayako against Fujiwara Chika, and the Mauser rifle against a tank. Chapter 186 Mirror Image of Two People. July 27th, night. Misaka Mikado, who was defeated during the day, hid in a corner in a gloomy mood. When Shakura Hamasaki appeared in a bikini, Misaka Mikado's swimsuit was crushed to pieces. The fierce tank shook and killed Misaka Mikado in an instant. "I'm confident that I won't lose just by relying on my face." Misaka Mikado squatted in the corner of the dormitory, and her whole body was in a faded state. In the fight between girls, if you can't defeat the other party with your ability, then your face and heart will be the final blow. Unfortunately, although Misaka Mikado's face is comparable to Shakura Hamasaki's, the gap is too huge. It's okay at ordinary times, but when you put on a swimsuit, the gap will be very obvious. "Well, sister, it's okay, that guy only has breasts to show off, come and have a glass of water." Shirai Kurako handed over a glass of water with a warm smile. "Oh. Thank you, Kurako." Misaka Mikado took it over, and just when her lips just touched the cup, she caught a glimpse of Shirai Kurako's strange expression. "Kurako. This cup of water is purified water, right?" "Of course, Onisama." "Kurako, you drink first." "What?" Onisama doesn't believe Kurako? "I love and respect Onisama so much, but I didn't expect Onisama to not believe me." Kurako is really too sad. Shirai Kurako's eyes were rippled, and her tearful eyes seemed to be about to fall directly. She turned around and made a sobbing sound, and her words were full of grievances. Sorry. Kurako, I shouldn't." Misaka Mikado couldn't help but blame herself. Although her junior sister usually behaved very excessively, she would never do anything to her. So, seeing Shirai Kurako's sadness, Misaka Mikado quickly apologized and was about to drink the water. However, Kurako Shirai, who had her back to Misaka Mikado, showed a cunning smile. Of course Kurako Shirai put something there, but what was it? Don't ask, it's computer accessories. It seemed that because of Kurako Shirai's action just now, something fell from her body to the ground. Misaka Mikado's attention was immediately attracted. "Kurako, what is that?" "Nothing, Onisama, it's a computer." Kurako Shirai's face instantly turned panic, and she quickly reached out to pick it up. Unfortunately, Misaka Mikado was one step faster. The electromagnetic force formed a magnetic chain, and the moment before Kurako Shirai touched the thing, it attracted it to Misaka Mikado's hand. The unparalleled aphrodisiac of love in Chinese medicine. "Can you explain this to me, Kurako?" "Onisama, I have something to do with the discipline committee, so I'll leave first." Sure enough, treat perverts the same way you treat perverts. The current that was just within the human body's tolerance range made Shirai Kurako feel what it meant to be in ecstasy. But, it didn't seem to be the first time. Alice, Misaka Mikado was really helpless with Shirai Kurako. She really had no way to deal with a schoolmate who often behaved out of line, but she didn't really want to have any way. By the way, after being interrupted by Shirai Kurako, Misaka Mikado came out of her previous loss and remembered an important thing. 11 o'clock, which was considered late at night, Misaka Mikado's figure was no longer in the dormitory where the lights were turned off due to curfew. Instead, she appeared on the street. She had just proudly turned around the Academy City and was using electromagnetic force for investigation. The electromagnetic force continued to expand, and the micromagnetic field made itself explore the surroundings like a radar. Still no one. Could it be just a rumor? Someone made up a story, and some people matched it? Am I wrong? Well, I have become so suspicious, but I still feel uneasy. Through the electromagnetic force survey, even a mosquito around would be firmly locked by her, but she didn't feel anything wrong. Misaka Mikado also began to doubt whether she was a little suspicious, but since she was out, she still had to investigate a little. Just when Misaka Mikado's thoughts just came up, A figure walked out from the side. It was like looking in a mirror. If it weren't for the electromagnetic force to confirm that there was nothing in front of her, she would have suspected that someone had placed a mirror here. Exactly the same appearance, wearing the Tokiwade school uniform. The only difference seemed to be the agility and fear in Misaka Mikado's eyes. And the emptiness in the eyes of the person in front of her and some strange expressions. "Who are you? Stop your pranks, or I will be rude." The first reaction was that it was a prank by a person with the ability to transform. In Academy City, it was not strange to have any superpowers. Prank? Huh, are we a prank in your eyes? We are obviously the same. The appearance, blood, bones, obviously the same. Why does he keep hanging around you? Instead of coming to us, obviously we have more. Obviously, what are you talking about? Who are you? Misaka Mikado felt very uneasy, and an indescribable sense of horror spread from her heart. It was obviously a hot summer night, but it felt like being poured with a basin of cold water in winter. It's a prank. Damn, you actually teased me. Although she was sure of her thoughts, Misaka Mikado was frightened by the cold eyes of herself. It was a kind of resentment, a kind of jealousy, a kind of terrifying eyes like the devil in hell. That kind of eyes could never be pretended. She hated Misaka Mikado very much. Misaka Mikado quickly recalled the past. She was not a devil. She had not had conflicts with many people since she was a child, let alone this kind of hatred that seemed to kill people's parents and steal their loved ones. But, hey, I warn you again, stop your prank, or I will be rude. You're welcome? Why? Like this, azure lightning burst out from Misaka Kyoko, and a thunderbolt with a sense as thick as an adult man's wrist shot out from Misaka Kyoko's head. Zizizizi Misaka Mikado instinctively manipulated the electrons to disintegrate Misaka Kyoko's attack. Misaka Mikado's expression was extremely weird. That lightning, at least proved that the guy in front of her was at least level 4. Although Misaka Mikado's electromagnetic force is not rare, it is still weird to burst out from a person who looks exactly like her. Chapter 187 Strange misunderstandings increase. Blue lightning kept striking in the air, and scattered thunders were struck on the roof. Even with the lightning rod, the house wires still had a great impact. Academy City responded quickly and cut off the power supply to the entire school district. Avoid causing a fire. Thunder flashed around Misaka Mikado, and lightning shuttled around her like a spirit snake, letting it drive her, like the god of thunder in mythology. And now she said what she felt. It was like looking in the mirror. Standing opposite her, another thunder god stood proudly. The eyes of the two kept reflecting, as if looking at a mirror. The two are like the front and back of a mirror, and in some ways, they are indeed the front and back of a mirror. A superpower born in the light of Academy City, LV5 Super Railgun Misaka Mikado. A clone born in the darkness of Academy City, connected to a corner of the new world, Misaka Kyoko. Who are you? Misaka Mikado asked again. After a brief confrontation, she found that Misaka Kyoko's calculation and strength were not inferior to hers. She was also a level 5 superpower. With the same ability and appearance, Misaka Mikado gradually realized the seriousness and uniqueness of the matter. Who am I? I am Misaka Kyo. No, from today on, I am you. Misaka Mikado looked at the strange smile on Misaka Kyoko's face, and then Misaka Kyoko's body quickly fled away with a pull of electromagnetic force. Don't go. Misaka Mikado's hand also extended an electromagnetic hook. Boom! The hurricane rolled up from the road, and the concrete road surface fell apart in an instant. Huge stones dug out from the ground smashed towards Misaka Mikado. With a rapid stretching and dodging of the electromagnetic force, Misaka Mikado dodged to the side. A girl with short white hair, hands in her trouser pockets, like a gangster, stood on one of the few intact ground. Hey number 1, it's so hard for me to find her. Number 1, Misaka Mikado immediately grasped the key point. Who is it? The person just now? Number 1? Are there any other numbers? Who is she? Who is she? What's going on? Thick doubts filled Misaka Mikado's mind. It was too strange. The situation tonight was really too strange. Hey. Number 1 is, boom! Suzuko Yuriko stretched out her left hand and grasped the huge cement stone beside her. Then she threw it, and the huge stone flew directly up and hit Misaka Mikado. Zzzzzz! The thunder turned into a spear and shot out from Misaka Mikado's body. The violent explosion directly blew the rock into pieces. Oh, is there really a level 5? So cool. Last time it was just a small electric spark that could only play pranks, As soon as Suzuko Yuriko stepped on the ground, the already cracked concrete floor instantly exploded, and pieces of concrete stones, along with Suzuko Yuriko's opinions, fell towards Misaka Mikado. Hey! Listen to what I say. After being ignored again and again, Misaka Mikado's anger surged up, and the dark clouds were pulled together by the ions in the sky. Lightning kept falling, and the world seemed to be reduced to a thunder domain. So cool. By the way, this is just like this compared to the 4th place. But, that's all, just follow me back obediently, so I don't have to do it. The thunder was bounced off by Suzuko Yuriko's vector rebound. Even if this power that was enough to destroy a city or even a country bloomed in front of her, she didn't care. Hey! Get it straight, I'm not number 1. No way. You actually think you're Misaka Kyoko? It's just that bastard who gave you a random name, and you think you're a treasure. Very surprised. Suzuko Yuriko was very surprised, even more surprised than the terrifying power that Misaka Kyoko had just displayed. However, she naturally couldn't show her surprise in her mouth. Misaka Kyoko? Is it her name? Someone else just gave it to me? There are more and more doubts, but now, I'm going to teach this guy in front of me a lesson. Misaka Mikado wanted to know more and more things, but she didn't ask directly. After all, she felt that the other party wouldn't answer her properly, so, let her fist speak next. Next time you, Misaka Kyoko's words just now reappeared in Misaka Mikado's mind, and Misaka Mikado couldn't help but Dragon King smile. That obviously meant that the person in front of her could defeat and capture Misaka Mikado. But, impossible. Who is she? She is the pinnacle of Academy City, a superpower, the 4th of certain scientific railgun of level 5. How could a random guy knock her down? Although the guy in front of her seemed to have some skills, Misaka Mikado was confident that when the time came, I'm going to interrogate you. It just so happened that Misaka Mikado was also very unhappy with the arrogant guy in front of her, so she would teach her a lesson and then force the information she wanted out of him. With this idea in mind, Misaka Mikado took the lead and made a move. Electromagnetic force gathered in Misaka Mikado's hands, and along with attraction of electromagnetic force, a long whip composed of tiny iron sand particles. The iron sands kept rubbing against each other quickly, and the high temperature and sharpness generated were comparable to the level of lasers. Hey! If you get touched by this, you will get hurt. The long whip was swung, and the iron sand whip danced in the air like a spirit snake, and along with Misaka Mikado's movements, it was transformed into a deadly weapon. How injured? Stop bragging. Just you? A miscellaneous cultivator, every superpower user is a super academic master. Suzuko Yuriko can see at a glance how sharp the iron sand whip in Misaka Mikado's hand is. I'm afraid it can cut through a building without any hindrance. But Suzuko Yuriko just stretched out her right hand disdainfully and grabbed the deadly weapon. Reflect, the moment Suzuko Yuriko grabbed it, the entire iron sand whip collapsed. Suzuko Yuriko manipulated electrons, atoms and other vectors to scatter and easily disintegrate this attack. Zzzzzzz, Misaka Mikado's eyes flashed with surprise. Although she also knew that this move would probably not work, at this moment she didn't even get any specific information, and it couldn't even be considered a test. She only knew that the electrons and iron sand that she had just manipulated and pulled seemed to be disturbed by something and scattered. However, she did not hesitate. The thunder struck out at the moment when the iron sand scattered, and the thunder like a spear stabbed towards Suzuko Yuriko. The lightning dissipated on the surface of Suzuko Yuriko, and the shining lightning gradually dissipated. Suzuko Yuriko's expression was revealed. Hey! That's it. Chapter 188 Too Free. Thunder and lightning roared, and the wind howled. The battle between Misaka Mikado and Suzuko Yuriko has entered a fierce battle. Although it is said to be fierce, it is actually a one-sided crushing. It is exactly the opposite of what Misaka Mikado thought. She did not quickly defeat the opponent, but invisible pressure continued to come from the opponent, and the opponent's every move has amazing power. From beginning to end, until now, Misaka Mikado has not taken any advantage. The opponent has been suppressing her from beginning to end. What's going on? The guy in front of me is actually a superpower? No way, although I don't want to believe it in my heart. The combat power shown by this person in front of me is indeed at the level of LV5, and his superpower is very powerful. After this short battle, Misaka Mikado found that the opponent's ability seems to be able to act on the atomic unit for control. Misaka Mikado doesn't know the specifics, but it can be said that he is a natural enemy of Misaka Mikado. The opponent in front of her is almost impossible to be defeated, but Misaka Mikado is not panicked. A smile gradually appeared at the corner of her mouth, and the blood in her body seemed to be boiling. Since becoming level 5, no, to be more precise, level 4, she hasn't had a good fight, because no one she met was her opponent. It's so boring. She has such a powerful power, but it's basically useless. She uses this power to teach the gangsters a lesson every day. The name of a superpower is crying. At this moment, she finally encountered a powerful enemy, and because of that person, she had a reason to fight. This feeling. Misaka Mikado found that it was actually quite good. The electric current on her body seemed to feel the joy of the owner, and cheered and jumped for joy. The thunder was like a group of wolves responding to the Wolf King, constantly responding to Misaka Mikado's fighting spirit. Oh, it seems that you have forgotten the powerlessness of being stepped on by me, and you actually want to defeat me? Ho ha ho ha, Suzuko Yuriko laughed loudly, holding her face with her right hand, as if she heard some silly jokes. Misaka Mikado focused all her attention. Although Suzuko Yuriko was laughing in front of her, the pressure emanating from her body was like a tide. According to some comics she likes to read, the comics at this moment should be that Suzuko Yuriko exudes a tentacle-like breath, and the atmosphere should also reflect that she is like a demon. Hey! Are you looking down on me? Just a mass-produced test product. Suzuko Yuriko's eyes seemed to flash with blood-red light, and the terrifying breath came from Suzuko Yuriko. Misaka Mikado's breathing gradually became heavy, and the blood flow in her body seemed to be suppressed. Misaka Mikado attacked first again. The momentum of the enemy in front of her was like the collapse of the sky and the earth. Just standing there gave Misaka Mikado a sense of pressure like a mountain collapsing. And before, it was inferred that the opponent's strength might be above her, so Misaka Mikado took the lead in launching an attack. Because she knew that she could not cause any damage to the opponent in a long-range battle, Misaka Mikado chose close combat. First, a thunder spear hit from a distance, and as usual, it shone with thousands of feet of light and turned into ions the moment it hit the opponent. And this move was just to cover Misaka Mikado's approach. Have you actually approached me? Who do you think you are? That bastard. As soon as they stepped on the ground, pieces of rocks erupted from the ground, and the streets were like a volcanic eruption, constantly surging up. Zzzzzz thunders turned into spears, constantly smashing pieces of rocks. Misaka Mikado's body moved quickly, and electromagnetic chains continued to extend from her hands, constantly borrowing power from the rocks flying from all directions, dodging, or stretching. The short battle between the two level 5s basically destroyed nearly 1/3 of the school district. If the two had not fought in the commercial district and it was around 12 o'clock in the evening, it would definitely be a big event. Of course, in fact, they themselves were no longer fighting in a normal academy city. The moment they started fighting, Xia Yu's backup plan for the entire academy city was used. When the estimated destructive power reached level 4, they would enter the virtual city, that is, with the help of Xia Yu's little power, they formed a quasi-mirror world, that is, a mirror world. So, in fact, no matter how they fight, it won't get any bigger. And now Misaka Mikado is also a little excited, otherwise she would realize why she didn't attract the guards. With a coin that Misaka Mikado took out of her pocket, the electromagnetic force was injected into the coin, and the super electromagnetic cannon that was deployed shattered the stone, and then hit Suzuko Yuriko and was dissipated. Misaka Mikado finally got within 10 meters of Suzuko Yuriko. Suzuko Yuriko frowned, and a hurricane gathered behind her. Two tornadoes connected her back, and rushed towards Misaka Mikado in front like a scorpion's tail. Misaka Mikado reached her right hand into her pocket, and 2 coins were thrown out of her hand. The 2 super electromagnetic cannons quickly pierced the hurricane one after another. At this moment, an electromagnetic pulse erupted from the soles of Misaka Mikado's feet, and Misaka Mikado was directly ejected. 10 meters away, arrived in an instant. HMPH Misaka Mikado smiled, and the distance had reached 2 meters. The iron sand turned into a 1-meter-long blade and swung it directly. The iron sand immediately disintegrated when it touched Suzuko Yuriko. Suzuko Yuriko looked at Misaka Mikado with a rather strange expression. Rushing here, just like that? Misaka Mikado's pupils also trembled. She thought that it was because the attack controlled by the ability was too far away from her that it was easily shattered by the opponent. But in the contact just now, The calculations of both sides collided briefly, and Misaka Mikado's calculations were easily defeated, which directly led to the shattering of the iron sand sword. Suzuka Yuriko stretched out her left hand, grabbed Misaka Mikado's wrist, and used her ability. She resisted the urge to use her ability to turn Misaka Mikado's life into a flood, and instead took out a bottle of spray from her pocket. Originally, this method would have been useless on Misaka Mikado, but at this moment she was caught by Suzuka Yuriko, and her ability was completely suppressed, causing the drug to easily knock her out. Ding ding ding, your call was not connected. This guy, what is he doing? Homa. No. Let me go. Don't you have a phone call? Let me rest too, it's okay. The phone is not as important as you. Come, my little Hayasaka. I'm coming again. Chapter 189, Unreal Matter. It's probably been solved by now. Now, I am Misaka Mikado. Misaka Kyoko was walking on the deserted street. She would look back from time to time, calculating the time, and a smile appeared on her lips. She certainly knew how powerful the pursuer was. Even though the guy hadn't improved at all in the past 6 months, he could definitely defeat Misaka Mikado easily with his original strength. As for distinguishing, as long as she was caught, she would be Misaka Kyoko. Kyoko, don't run away anymore. Come back with me. Fatsuko Tashin's voice came from behind her, and Misaka Kyoko frowned. Unlike Misaka Mikado, she didn't have the habit of exploring with electromagnetic force for a long time, which led to her not noticing. Hey, you're not the one from the daytime? Kyoko? Who is it? Are you looking for someone? Is she missing? I can help. Misaka Kyoko turned her head, and the moment she turned her head, her expression turned into a face of confusion. Based on her observations over the past 2 days, as well as some of the previous clips, she is already very familiar with the behavior of Misaka Mikado. In this case, she will definitely do this. Although she has great strength, she is not arrogant, but very peaceful, and also very enthusiastic and kind. Don't pretend, Kyoko, I know it's you, you are not the real one at all. Fatsuki Tashin stared at the confused girl in front of him with a firm gaze. There is no reason, if there must be one, it is intuition. Hey. My name is Misaka Mikado, you recognize the wrong person, that person called Kyoko, does she look so much like me? Misaka Kyoko imitated Misaka Mikado's tone and said to Fatsuki Tashin. It's so late, the real one has a curfew, it's impossible for me to come out. Hey, I am the real one, just coming out to have fun. It's you. Fatsuki Tashin was more determined in his thoughts. The real one is the name they call Misaka Mikado because they cloned 20,000 Misaka sisters. And Misaka Mikado would never call herself that. Panicked, Misaka Kyoko realized the problem. Just now, she was a little panicked under the questioning of Fatsuki Tashin, and she also put her own cognition into it. Exactly the same, it is easy to play a person well, but it is difficult to become a person. Get out of the way. Dr. Fatsuki, I am very grateful for your care these days, but please don't pester me anymore. Misaka Kyoko's expression turned cold. Although she had no feelings before, she could still see Fatsuki Tashin's behavior. Now she also felt a little grateful for Fatsuki Tashin. However, if Fatsuki Tashin blocked her way, then even if it was Fatsuki Tashin, Misaka Kyoko would not show mercy. Why? Is there anything that can't be discussed? If you have any request, just put it forward and come back with me. Fatsuki Tashin was very confused and didn't understand why Misaka Kyoko wanted to run away. You don't understand, Misaka Kyoko has gone back, and the one standing here now is Misaka Mikado. Misaka Kyoko's expression was indifferent, as if she was declaring, and she said firmly. You want to replace me? Why? You? Oh look, what did I catch? The shining wings reflected the moonlight, and a handsome man stood in the sky, with 3 pairs of shining white jade-like wings placed behind him, and a look of surprise on his face. You are, 3rd place? Unreal matter, Fatsuka Tashin said in disbelief. Tisk. Don't call me 3rd place, I don't like it. I'm the leader of the Anbu school, now, get out of the way, leave that guy to me, Kakin Taito, that is, unreal matter, the title is the ability, and the unreal matter produced by his ability is a substance that does not exist in this world. It is not yet discovered or should exist in theory, it is a substance that truly does not exist, so it is not applicable to existing physical laws. Light waves and radio waves that touch unreal matter will be distorted into vectors that cannot exist, and act according to its own laws. It is also recognized by Academy City as the most valuable ability to study. And Kakin Taito, who possesses such an ability, ascended to the throne of third place with his power. Anbu, school? No. Are they pursuers? Are they the pursuers sent by the higher-ups? Futsuka Toshin looked at Kakin Taito in horror. As a researcher, she knew that the top three, including her boss, and the next three were from two different worlds. Any one of the top three was enough to sweep away the rest. Although this was just her perception as a researcher, it was actually not far off. Except for the uncertain old 8, the others would be swept away. Although Misaka Kyoko was judged to be at level 5 when she escaped, she would definitely be a match for this kind of monster. As for how Kakin Taito was a pursuer, it was very simple. The escaped Misaka Kyoko was reported to be level 5, so the pursuers above must also be level 5. In addition, Kakin Taito's words just now mentioned the mission, so it was still very reasonable. Xia Yu entrusted Kakin Taito of the Anbu to chase Misaka Kyoko, which was very reasonable. However, this was indeed a misunderstanding. Xia Yu entrusted Suzuko Yuriko. And this Kakin Taito took commissions from other places. I don't want to hurt you, can you please surrender? Kakin Taito had a gentleman's smile on his face, and his every move was like a gentleman in the Western Middle Ages, showing a sense of nobility. I refuse. If possible. I hope you can leave obediently. I don't want to fight with you. Misaka Kyoko didn't want to fight in vain. I don't want to attack a lady either, but if the mission is not completed, then our school will lose its 100% completion rate, and the score will definitely be lowered. Kakin Taito shook his head and seemed to be very distressed. Thunder burst out from Misaka Kyoko's body, and a lightning spear shot out in an instant. She had already seen that this battle had to be fought. In this case, taking the first step would naturally give her some advantages. The wings quickly wrapped Kakin Taito himself, and the lightning spear hit the wings, exploding feathers. The scattered feathers quickly stopped falling and aimed at Misaka Kyoko, shooting out like flying swords. Misaka Kyoko's body moved quickly, and the feathers were inserted directly into the ground, without even the ends showing, which was enough to show how sharp the feathers were. My unreal matter, but I am the one who sets the rules, miss. Be careful. 3 pairs of wings spread out, and the feathers flashed with a cold light like a blade. The cold moonlight shone down, and the glorious posture was like an angel in the Bible. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190, Near God. The wings spread out from the air, and through the unique calculation method of Kakin Taito, a large number of vectors were condensed and shot downward in the form of light. The blazing beam instantly turned the earth into gullies, and the ground appeared to be melted into magma and emitted extremely high temperature heat. Misaka Kyoko dodged quickly, and her body was stretched along with a magnetic chain, and she dodged the fatal beam. The 6 pairs of wings shone with pure white light. Just the first round of attack announced the strength of Kakin Taito. Misaka Kyoko glanced at the huge gully on the side in the sky with his hands in his pockets and a confident smile on his face. A hint of gloom flashed in her eyes. Why does everyone want to stop me? Hey! Stop! Stop attacking! Kyoko has agreed to go back. Stop! Futsuko Toshin's face was pale. That blow seemed to split the entire school district in half. The terrifying power shocked her. She couldn't fight like this anymore. It was too dangerous. Oh? You are the client? Well, it doesn't matter. My job is to hand her over to the middleman. Whether you are the client or not, I don't care, but please stay away, otherwise it will be bad if you can't get the money. Kakin Taito glanced at Futsuka Toshin casually. As an Anbu, they were entrusted by middlemen to conduct transactions. Although they could also trade directly with a client to make them provide positive practices, Kakin Taito was not sure that the person below was the client. Therefore, he still had to choose to catch her back first. Zzzzzz lightning flashed on Misaka Kyoko's body, faster and faster, more and more dense, as if it turned into a coat, wrapping Misaka Kyoko up. Oh, Kakin Taito's eye looked at Misaka Kyoko with interest. Then, A thunder seemed to penetrate the sky and the earth, and Misaka Kyoko's calculation amount rose rapidly, and finally stuck at the half-step of LV6. The thunders were like ancient dragons and snakes, constantly circling in this academy city. The thunder seemed to have turned into petals, and a thunder flower bloomed here. The world was distorted, and the terrifying computing power reached a level close to that of a god, that is, infinitely close to the level 6 state. A white halo appeared behind Misaka Kyoko's head. The thunder was like a feather wrapped around her body, and her eyes flashed with inhuman brilliance, and her posture was constantly approaching God from human. Go and pursue it, you will find the meaning of our existence. 20,000 voices of Misaka's sisters echoed in Misaka Kyoko's mind, and a full 19,999 level 4 computing powers gathered in Misaka Kyoko's brain again. The terrifying computing power pulled the soul, and the power of the soul descended further, while the body had problems due to its own limits. Misaka Kyoko could not perfectly grasp the terrifying power without hurting her body, and her body was not like a god enough to bear it. This also led to the fact that Misaka Kyoko's power could only be short-lived. But even if it was short-lived, at this moment, Misaka Kyoko was a godlike person, with power infinitely close to level 6. Hey. What is this? The client didn't tell me in advance. Hey. If you are really the client, you have to pay more. Otherwise, I won't give it to you. Kakin Taito still had a confident smile on his face. Just kidding, how could a mere electromagnetic force user be able to deal with his unreal matter? Boom lightning spear. Although it was still the same lightning spear, the electromagnetic force condensed under the operation of a huge amount of calculations was more like a pillar to the sky than a lightning spear. The thunder impact, like a building, was fired directly from Misaka Kyoko's body. The thunder was pure white, and its high temperature was comparable to the core layer of the sun, which was almost enough to destroy all matter. 3 pairs of wings wrapped Kakin Taito tightly, forming a sphere. After the thunder that almost dyed the world white disappeared, the spherical wings of Kakin Taito gradually cracked and fell off. The calmness on the face of the Emperor Kakin was gone, and his expression turned into horror. He was confident that the defense power of the unreal matter would remain intact even in the center of the nuclear bomb, but the lightning strike just now actually shattered this layer of defense. It was not just the high temperature, but also the unimaginable impact and the collision of calculations. I see, the power of the Emperor Kakin has been understood by Misaka Kyoko. The unreal matter created by the Emperor Kakin does not follow the rules of the known universe at all, that is, there are no atoms, electrons and other elements that make up the world, so it is impossible for people like Misaka Mikoto and Mujino Shenli to deal with him. After all, their abilities are completely restrained, and their calculations are far inferior, so it is no wonder that the Emperor Kakin despises them so much. However, what is in front of the Emperor Kakin now is Misaka Kyoko, whose calculations are more than 10 times his, and who has already stepped into the half-step level 6, and whose power has already surpassed the so-called mortals. Since the skills and means are not as good as others, then rely on the ultimate power and speed to crush the opponent. Kyoko Misaka waved her hand casually, and a large number of electrons gathered around Kakin Taito, releasing terrifying energy. The huge energy was compressed into a beam of light, or a pillar of light that penetrated the sky and the earth. The wings spread out, defeating the electric current, and the wings themselves were also broken, and they could only condense again. Kakin Taito's face was solemn. Looking at Kyoko Misaka standing on the ground, with an inhuman posture and a godlike gesture, he felt like a tiger trying to catch a hedgehog and couldn't find a bite. Moreover, according to his calculations, although Kyoko Misaka's state could not be used for a long time, her own ability was still constantly improving. According to his calculations, she might even launch a terrifying attack that he could not resist. Even if she would die after that attack, she could still take him away. This battle cannot continue, because there is no benefit in fighting to the end. Kakin Taito hesitated for a moment, spread his wings and left towards the back. Kyoko Misaka shrank the thunder on her body. After a long time, Futsuka Toshin, who was knocked unconscious by the aftermath, looked around. Everything was the same as before, and the streets were intact. Where are they? Futsuka Toshin looked at the street in confusion. Everything was like a dream. And in the high place, Misaka Kyoko left here silently after seeing her wake up. Although she had fled from there, she still remembered Futsuka Toshin's care. As long as it didn't hinder her, She would not suggest helping. Chapter 191, A Day in the Life of Misaka Mikado. July 28, 8 a.m. Oni-sama, Oni-sama, Kurako wrapped the quilt in his arms. His hands were bound tightly like iron chains, drooling from the corners of his mouth. His expression was very obsessed. Kurako. Misaka Mikado gently shook Shirai Kurako's body as usual, waking her up from her sleep. Good morning, Oni-sama. Good morning. Kurako, going to the bathroom to wash up as usual. Shirai Kurako attacked Misaka Mikado as usual. Misaka Mikado and Shirai Kurako chatted as usual. Entering the cafeteria, eating breakfast as usual, Shirai Kurako watched some of the events of the day through the professional channel of the discipline committee. It's been peaceful as usual recently, Shirai Kurako sighed as she watched. There have been no events recently, which has also given Shirai Kurako, as a discipline committee member, some free time to rest. Oni-sama, is there anything going on today? No. What's wrong, Kurako? Why don't we ask Katsuharu and the others to go shopping together? That's a good idea. Misaka Mikado put her hand on her chin, thought for a moment, and nodded in agreement. Well, then I'll contact Katsuharu, and also Satin and Kato-senpai. Shirai Kurako took out her phone, skillfully opened the chat app, found the three of them, and sent a message. The replies were also very quick, and soon, she got the result of the three people's agreement. And Misaka Mikado's eyes flashed. Her face was a little nervous, but she soon relaxed. Well, Oni-sama, let's go. Let's go to our old place. Shirai Kurako put on a not very ladylike smile on her face, and kept rubbing her hands like flies. Don't say it so weirdly. Misaka Mikado covered her forehead helplessly and sighed. As expected of Shirai Kurako, the old place refers to that dessert shop, and when Shirai Kurako mentioned it, with that tone, that expression, and that look, I thought it was some limited edition good, strange place. Well, let's go. Just as Misaka Mikado stood up, a figure walked in and made Misaka Mikado pause for a moment. Her face suddenly froze, and then she looked very unhappy. Oh? Misaka-san, what a coincidence. Good morning. Shakuhao-san, although it was a greeting, the expression and tone showed a very unhappy attitude. Still so indifferent, Shakuhao Misaki covered her lips and laughed softly. Misaka Mikado didn't pay attention to Shakuhao Misaki anymore, but walked out directly, and Shirai Kurako followed Misaka Mikado out. Shakuhao Misaki narrowed her eyes slightly, and her starry eyes revealed a puzzled look. She noticed something was wrong. That's right, Misaka Mikado used to have this attitude. However, it was just a little disgust, but today, it seemed like there was some jealousy and hatred. Because of Misaka Mikado's ability, Shakuhao Misaki's psychological control could not work on her, but as a person who manipulates psychology, she herself is also very sensitive to this. Misaka Mikado's attitude is indeed wrong. However, she didn't care much. That ability, that strength, was undoubtedly Misaka Mikado. She might be in a bad mood. After all, girls always have those 2 days. Oni-sama, don't pay attention to her. Anyway, she is just a woman who can only do small tricks. In a head-on battle, Oni-sama can easily defeat her. Well, it's okay, Kurako. Hey, I think Oni-sama still seems very unhappy. Let Kurako comfort Oni-sama's heart. Shirai Kurako's body disappeared directly from the spot and hugged Misaka Mikado. Zizzy. After this farce. During the process, Shirai Kurako's eyes occasionally tilted to Misaka Mikado. Shakuhao Misaki could sense the difference, and so could Shirai Kurako. She also sensed something was wrong. As for the reason, Shakuhao Misaki was sensitive. And Shirai Kurako felt it from the electric current that Misaka Mikado sent to her. Don't get me wrong, Misaka Mikado usually feels that Shirai Kurako is just in a state of basically harmless current with numbness all over her body, and the same is true for Misaka Mikado. But, how to put it? According to Shirai Kurako, there is no love in the electric current. This is a pure electric current without love. To be honest, I don't understand it, and I don't dare to ask. Even if I ask, I can't understand it. This is Shirai Kurako's strange way of distinguishing. However, although there were some doubts in her heart, Shirai Kurako didn't think much about it. Maybe it was just an accident, or her elder sister was in a bad mood. Hey, Kurako, did you notify that Xia Yu Senior this time? Misaka Mikado asked awkwardly. Huh? Something's wrong, something's wrong. Logically speaking, Misaka Mikado's name should definitely be that guy, and she wouldn't ask him, let alone notify him. However, Shirai Kurako still didn't feel distrustful, but just felt that Misaka Mikado's body might not be feeling well. Oni-sama, that perverted ape chairman doesn't need to be notified. He can come anytime he wants, and he can come. Kurako, stop saying that Senior Shia is a perverted ape, it's so rude. Oh, could it be that the perverted ape chairman suddenly got hold of Oni-sama when I didn't know? Impossible. I won't allow it. Oni-sama, Shirai Kurako suddenly yelled and hugged Misaka Mikado tightly, rubbing her head in front of Misaka Mikado and making inhalation movements, like a complete pervert. Hey, Kurako, stop it, go away. A panicked expression suddenly appeared on Misaka Mikado's face. This was real panic, and an instinctive electric current emanated from her body. That's right, that's it, Oni-sama's love. Shirai Kurako made a strange sound, and then fell to the ground. It seemed, what she called love was Misaka Mikado's panic. It seemed that the electromagnetic waves in the human brain could also be transmitted through electric current. Misaka Mikado's electromagnetic force might also convey her own emotions. However, this kind of thing, probably only a weird pervert like Shirai Kurako can perceive it clearly. Weird yuppie. Your XP is so weird. Chapter 192 Misaka Mikado in desperate situation. Good job, what a talent, I really found a ghost. Xia Yu looked at Misaka Mikado lying on the sofa, with a weird smile on his face, and raised his thumb to give a thumbs-up expression to the proud Suzuko Yuriko beside him. Good guy, a counterfeit ran away, but he caught a genuine one. This ability is really amazing. Suzuko Yuriko ignored Xia Yu's weird words, but proudly raised her head and said to Xia Yu, the person has been caught, where's the reward? Don't worry, I will give it. Now, send her to the laboratory, since the wrong person was caught, let's make the best of it. Xia Yu was also curious about Misaka Kyoko's purpose, why she attacked Misaka Mikado, and pretended to be Misaka Mikado. What does she want? It happened that Xia Yu was also curious, so he made the best of it and observed it first. As for whether Misaka Kyoko really replaced Misaka Mikado? It is basically impossible, or, if she can really replace, it will be more interesting. Okay, I still have a score to settle. My dear accelerator classmate, please be honest, who is that? Is it Xia Yu? Why is he with that guy? Where is this place? Misaka Mikado gradually regained consciousness. She squinted her eyes and quietly observed Xia Yu, who turned and left, and the enemy. She remembered that it seemed that before she fell into coma, it was the enemy who defeated her with a crushing advantage. Why are they together? Is this matter inseparable from you? In the confusion, Misaka Mikado felt that her body was moved, as if it was going to another place. Because Suzuko Yuriko was always by her side, she did not directly use her ability to help herself wake up quickly, but just waited for the opportunity. So, she fainted again. For Misaka Mikado, it was unknown how much time had passed, and she gradually woke up from the confusion. Opening her eyes, her brown eyes scanned the surroundings, and then, her eyes suddenly shrank, and her pupils kept shaking. One by one, figures that were almost exactly the same as her stood around. Even if she was the one who found the difference herself, she didn't feel any difference except the dead silence in her eyes. What's going on? What's going on? Misaka Mikado's expression froze, her heart was trembling, her fists were clenched, and her knuckles were turned white by her angry instinct. Welcome back, Misaka Kyoko. Suddenly, countless Misaka Mikado said so. Exclamation mark. What? I'm not Misaka. Buzz buzz buzz. The terrifying amount of calculation distorted the electromagnetic force, and the 19,999 level 4 abilities formed a nearly substantial distortion, exerting strong pressure on Misaka Mikado. The power of level 5 was directly suppressed, and nearly 20,000 Misaka sisters were like one body. The suppression force was like a mountain, and Misaka Mikado's breathing was cut off. For superpowers, exerting abilities is as simple as breathing, and Misaka Mikado can manipulate the electromagnetic force around her with ease. However, in front of nearly 20,000 people with the same ability who were suppressing her as if they were one, Misaka Mikado could clearly feel those electrons, but she was completely unable to mobilize them. Because, she was sealed. Well, the Misaka sisters said yes, so it should be number 1. After all, The connection between them is much deeper than ours. Yes, Misaka Mikado heard the voice coming from above, which was received through electromagnetic force. But Misaka Mikado was obviously unable to operate through electromagnetic force. We let you hear it. Please give up. We will never let you stop, Kyoko. Misaka Mikado said seriously. The Misaka sister in front of Misaka Mikado, that is, Misaka number 10,036, named Misaka Rin, said. Don't complain, 10,000 names, one surname, it must be more and more weird as time goes by. What's going on? That? Kyoko? What does he want to do? What's up with that guy? Xia Yu? Is he related to this? Misaka Mikado asked loudly, and under the control of the electromagnetic force of many Misaka sisters, the words conveyed to the researchers were normal and could prove Misaka Kyoko's identity. We have no reason to answer your questions. Misaka said simply. Misaka Rin had no expression on her face, and her voice did not change at all, just like a robot, with the same tone from beginning to end. Panic, fear, doubt, and even anger, unprecedented strong emotions gathered in the chest. Hey. Tell me. That Kyoko is using my identity, right? I should have the right to know what she is going to do. Misaka Mikado kept running the calculation, trying to master the electromagnetic force again, but she was alone, in front of nearly 20,000 level 4, after all, she was too weak. If Misaka Mikado is a big river, then these Misaka sisters are the sea formed by the rivers. We refuse. After thinking about it, Misaka still believes that you know nothing. It is more suitable for our plan, you? Misaka Mikado gritted her teeth and clenched her fists, looking at the figure in front of her that looked exactly like her, looking at this guy angrily. Then what? She actually couldn't do anything, and couldn't know anything, so she could only let the Fate One replace her. To be honest, according to science, she didn't think her friends could see through Misaka Kyoko's identity. After all, the other party was exactly the same as her, whether it was her appearance or her superpowers, everything could be explained by her mood changes. Therefore, the other party's substitution of a cat for a prince was perfect. Theoretically, there was basically no possibility. However, Misaka Mikado had a feeling that her friends would see through that guy. Then, Xia Yu. What does this matter have to do with you? I hope I just saw it wrong. There was no way, there was no doubt that Misaka Mikado was in a desperate situation now. Yohatsuharu-san. Satin-san. Misaka Mikado looked for her hands. Shirakurako suddenly turned her head and looked somewhere with a look full of suspicion. After glancing around, she said to Misaka Mikado, Oni-sama, did you call me just now? No. What's wrong, Kurako? Nothing. I just seemed to hear your elder sister's call of love. Under normal circumstances, Shirakurako should pounce directly on her elder sister. In fact, Shirakurako still has such a desire now, but she doesn't want to pounce on the Oni-sama in front of her. Chapter 193 Old 3, your teammates are very good. Anbu, school headquarters. Although it is called Anbu, most of the Anbu bases are not on the ground. On the contrary, the richer the Anbu, the more impressive their headquarters are. They also like to build them luxuriously. Well, I just cancelled that mission through the rules. Really. The intelligence was so different that I was not prepared enough, but it won't affect the rating if it is cancelled. Kakin Tito walked into his home, and an unusual atmosphere filled the building. Guests are coming. Kakin Tito glanced at the empty hall and walked into the elevator calmly. This building is obviously more than 10 meters high, but it has only 2 floors, the lobby on the first floor and the meeting room on the second floor, or the school nest. With Miss Archery's qualifications, with a little effort, you will surely become a national idol and be welcomed by the whole country, but it will require a little sacrifice. Well, in order to gain support, you have to show your sincerity. The elevator opened, and Kakin Tito glanced casually at the man lying on the ground beside the elevator door. He was wearing a circuit device on his head, his eyes were white, and he was half dead. Then, he looked at the normal meeting place. A man was sitting in his previous position, and his remaining 2 team members were not on the normal meeting place, but sitting on both sides of the man. Hey. First place? Isn't that too much? You came to my territory without saying hello, not only beat my teammates, but also, what is this? Let my teammates accompany you for drinks. Kakin Tito didn't get angry. After all, In his eyes, these team members were just tools with some abilities, and it didn't matter. Compared with these, he was more concerned about the man in front of him. The goal of Kakin Tito has always been to become the first place and gain the strength to have an equal dialogue with the real power of the entire Academy City, the chairman of the General Council, Leicester. And in front of him is the last enemy in his fantasy. The first place, the eternal variable, Xia Yu, who is known as the Miracle Stone. It's a pity. What did he misunderstand? It's not that the first place is qualified to have an equal dialogue with the chairman of the General Council, Leicester. Rather, because Xia Yu has the strength to overturn the table with Leicester, he has obtained the status of having an equal dialogue with Leicester, and the so-called first place title. In Xia Yu's view, he and Leicester are two chess players playing Chu Han chess. The two are chess players, so they have equal status. The so-called chess piece, even if it is a general, dies. In fact, it is just a game lost. However, in Kakin Tito's view, Leicester is the king of chess. And the first place is the queen, because the queen has an indispensable power, so they can be equal. In fact, in the end, it is just a chess piece. Hey, third brother, are these two beautiful ladies your teammates? Xia Yu looked at the beautiful girls on his left and right hands. The girl on the left was close to Xia Yu. She was petite with golden curly hair and wore a matching pink backless dress. She had just used her ability on Xia Yu, but it bounced back. Her name was UK Jaime and her ability was called psychological regulation. It was to express the inner distance between two specific people with a numerical value, and to adjust the inner distance between oneself and others. On the other side was the bow and arrow hunter tiger, with black hair. Compared with UK Jaime, she was more girlish. Her current state was mainly due to Xia Yu's psychological regulation bringing her closer. By the way, he had long known that there were many strange superpowers in Academy City, but something like psychological regulation also surprised him. He didn't collect it when he was collecting abilities in the early days, so it seemed that there were many hidden at that time. That's right. So can we let them go? Let them go? Are you kidding? But I have to say that you have a good vision, but your body is not good at all. Anyway, your teammates are very good. Facing Xia Yu's provocative words, Kakin Tito did not have any emotional fluctuations, but still said calmly, so? The first place came to me. It is not just for my two teammates, of course not, at least it was not the original purpose, but now it is one of my purposes. If I don't take such a good canary back, I will be sorry for this trip. Well, third brother, go with peace of mind. Your teammates. I will take care of them. Xia Yu's hands stayed on the thighs of the two girls, but his expression was not the lustful state before, but suddenly became indifferent. Kakin Tito instinctively became alert, and the wings behind him immediately spread out. But the wings were twisted, and pieces of feathers fluttered to the ground. The arms of Kakin Tito also disappeared as the wings twisted. Just now, Xia Yu used overwhelming calculations to manipulate the vectors, performed a secondary operation on Kakin Tito, and mastered his unreal matter. Even Kakin Tito couldn't help but scream under the sudden and horrible injury. Can you tell me, why did you do such a stupid thing last night? Tell me, and I'll spare your life. Xia Yu's body disappeared from between the two girls and stepped on Kakin Tito's handsome face. So strong. Is this the first place? No. It's impossible. How could there be such a big gap? Until just now, Kakin Tito still believed that even if he was not Xia Yu's opponent, it would be easy for him to escape. However, only at the moment of confrontation, could he feel the huge pressure like the abyss. I don't know, it's a mission from the upper level. When you are under someone's shoes, you have to bow your head. Although Kakin Tito wanted to challenge Xia Yu's position, he would not deliberately seek death, and telling Xia Yu this. In fact, it is also good for Kakin Tito. No matter whether he dies next, Xia Yu will cause trouble for the upper level of the Anbu. The upper level of the Anbu, Xia Yu sneered. He knew that some fools who didn't know how to live or die probably knew about the agreement between him and Leicester, so they became curious about the artificial heaven in his hands. After all, even Leicester couldn't fully control this city. Although he was like the sun, he still had stars. The curiosity of scientists about the unknown cannot be suppressed by mere power and strength. Let me think, who could it be? Who could it be? Kahara? Of course, only Kahara had this condition and the curiosity to either burn everything or burn himself to death. Well, Mr. Kakin Tito, as a punishment for giving me a slap on the wrist with your ID card and a copy of it. Are you interested in bringing coolness to everyone in the summer? Chapter 194 Hot Props Grows. Hey, Shirai-san, did something happen to Misaka-senpai? While walking, Ruko-Satin deliberately fell behind by 2 steps and said to Kurako Shirai, who usually followed Misaka Mikoto closely but was walking behind her in an abnormal way today. It shouldn't be a big deal. What's wrong? Kurako Shirai said in a somewhat suspicious tone. It seemed that even Kurako Shirai was a little confused. It feels like Misaka-senpai is a little different today, and Ruko-Satin looked at Kurako Shirai, who was looking puzzled and biting her fingers constantly. It's very strange. Compared to Misaka Mikoto today, Kurako Shirai was even stranger, and his reaction was completely different from usual. This not only made Ruko-Satin wonder if there was a conflict between her and Misaka Mikoto. However, looking at the appearance between the two, it didn't seem like there was a conflict, but more like, how to say it? A bit like, very familiar strangers? This metaphor is indeed very strange, but it did give Ruko-Satin this feeling. Hey everyone, I announce again that these two were members of the Anbu Organization Academy before, and will now join your props. Xia Yu brought UK Jaime and Bow and Arrow Hunter to the headquarters of props, a super large mansion with an indoor swimming pool, which is now an inherent private asset. At this moment, the original props team members were lying on sun loungers basking in the sun. As expected of the boss, it's really amazing that you actually poached the people from that academy. If props are Xia Yu's pets and friends, then Flanders' breed must be Chihuahua, the most barking and the most obedient little guy. As Xia Yu spoke, she immediately jumped up from the chair, showing a flattering smile, and stayed by Xia Yu's side to please him. Well, Flanders is so well behaved, worthy of being my favorite little prop, boss. There's no need to say the last few. Although Flanders was very thick-skinned, she was really embarrassed to be said like this by Xia Yu in the presence of outsiders. Hey, are you shy? But it doesn't matter, we are all family. From now on you will all be my tools. Yumi-chan's little mouth is also very sweet and, based on my experience just now, it is no worse than Flanders-chan. Boss, did you just say something incredible, did you? I was just telling the truth? Well, not as good as Maya. She said no, but her mouth was still very honest. Xia Yu's mouth curved, and his eyes swept over Mai Shenli, who pretended to sleep but was actually paying attention to the situation here. Xia Yu's celestial eyes clearly saw the blush gradually emerging under Mai Shenli's white skin. By the way, Zuyai-san is also very good. She is only 12 years old, but I didn't expect that she can do it. Is it because I trained her well, you guy? It's so annoying. Why haven't the guards caught you yet? Kanuhata Zuyai couldn't pretend anymore, and jumped up excitedly to complain about Xia Yu. Look at what you said. Even you guys weren't caught. Why would I be caught? Indeed, compared to Xia Yu, a pervert who plays with girls' feelings and bodies, the tools that have killed countless people are more dangerous. They should be caught. But, speaking of which, Taketsubo really fell asleep. Then, although Taketsubo Riko has eliminated the toxins in her body is still in a relatively weak state. Because of her previous instincts. She is also a very sleepy type. Basically, she falls asleep as soon as she touches the bed. Even if Xia Yu's movements are intense, she basically won't wake up, but it's not as boring as playing with dolls. Even if she is in a dream state, because of her own weakness, Xia Yu's profoundness and intensity, and even Xia Yu's own structure, the instinctive ritual inherited demon supplementation is triggered. The power overflowing from Xia Yu can supplement Taketsubo Riko's acquired deficiencies, and she will respond accordingly. So, how to say it? Very happy. Moreover, because Taketsubo Riko was still asleep, he inexplicably felt a strange pleasure. Hey, boss, you are here, isn't this a private area? Oh, isn't it that no outsiders can see it? Then, aren't they outsiders? Kanuhata pointed at UK Yumi and Bow and Arrow Hunter. Oh, Xia Yu first picked up Taketsubo Riko, and finally lay on Taketsubo Riko's seat. Through material distortion, he widened the chair and held Taketsubo Riko in his arms. Then he raised his eyebrows slightly towards UK Yumi and signaled with his eyes. UK Yumi directly pulled down the slings on her shoulders, and the dress on her delicate body fell directly to the ground. Her flawless white body was set off by the sunlight reflected by the swimming pool, like a piece of jade cast by heaven and earth. UK Haimai took a slender step, Her beautiful legs crossed in turn, and walked to Xia Yu, sitting like a duck, with her legs apart, sitting on Xia Yu, leaning forward, lying on Xia Yu's chest. Smelling Yukahame's fragrance, Xia Yu smiled. People who dominate others for a long time also want to be dominated by others, because this is curiosity, it is human instinct. Yukahame's psychological rules can wantonly play with the relationship and feelings between people. However, when facing Xia Yu, that power became a collar on her beautiful neck. I said, "No outsiders." Xia Yu kissed Yukahame's neck. The soft fragrance was intoxicating. Then there is still, before Zhuangqi's favorite struggle, Xia Yu whispered, "You know? If you want to be an idol, you must pay a price. To show your sincerity, I need to confirm whether you have the qualifications to become an idol. So, Hunter, come here." Xia Yu's voice seemed to reach his heart, as if the devil was whispering in his ear. Combined with the ability of psychological determination that he had just mastered, the psychological distance between Xia Yu and the bow and arrow hunter tiger had long been pulled into a negative number. Then you guys play, I'll take my leave. Want to run? Where to run? As Xia Yu's mind moved, the entire space was transformed into a demonic domain. With the help of Zhuangqi's favorite, it was impossible to get out. Well, it seems that my previous blind guess was right. The third brother's teammates are pretty good. In this demonic domain, a big drama was staged, beautiful singing echoed, and a girl pretending to sleep had a contradictory expression and was full of entanglement. I didn't know what to write for a moment, and the number of words was just a bit too many. Chapter 195, A Day in the Life of Misaka Mikado. July 28th, night, 9 o'clock. Ding ding ding, the doors of the dormitory were knocked one by one. Kurako. Where's Misaka Mikado? Is she taking a shower? The sound of water splashing came from the bathroom of the dormitory. Oni-sama, what's wrong? Kurako, nothing, checking the dormitory. Oh, I didn't take the towel, it's on the bed, help me get it. Okay, sorry. Wait a minute. Kurako walked to Misaka Mikado's bed and picked up the white towel on the bed. Huh? Oni-sama didn't buy the things with childish patterns as usual. Has Oni-sama finally grown up? It was a white towel, not the yellow-green towel with dark green frogs on it like before. Kurako walked into the bathroom naturally, and then walked out naturally. The dormitory manager raised his eyebrows. Something was wrong. Kurako didn't attack Misaka Mikado? She had checked the dormitories here so many times, and it was not the first time that she saw one of them taking a shower and then asking the other to deliver something. However, there was always an ending. That was Kurako attacked Misaka Mikado and then was electrocuted. Although it was not allowed to use superpowers in the dormitory manager would not care about it. However, in short, today was a good start. Maybe Kurako could become normal one day. This was also a good thing for the dormitory manager. I'll leave first. The dormitory manager still needed to register the students on several floors, so naturally he would not waste too much time here. Kurako. It's your turn. Water drops fell on the ground. Misaka Mikado wiped her hair with a towel, and suddenly found that Kurako was touching her chin and staring at her. Misaka Mikado's face changed a little, but the changes disappeared with Kurako's words. Oni-sama, have you grown up, huh? Misaka Mikado was confused, and then followed Kurako's line of sight and stopped at her chest. Tisk no. Kurako looked at it seriously, and through the gestures of her fingers, she seemed to have come to a very authoritative conclusion. For the first time, Misaka Mikado didn't know what expression to put on. Kurako touched her chin, walked into the bathroom with a puzzled look, closed the bathroom door, and didn't leave the door open as usual to welcome intruders. It seems that she is still thinking about that question. Strange, there is obviously no change. But I always feel that there is a change. Hair? Nails? Chest? I don't feel that there is anything wrong. But I always feel that it is not right. Could it be that I work overtime too much, and I am not used to being idle today? It's all because of that bastard ape chairman, who slacks off every day and adds pressure to us. Open the handle. Kurako immediately shrank aside like a cat that was electrocuted. What's wrong, Kurako? Nothing, it's just that the water temperature is a little cool today. Generally speaking, the warm water should be slightly cooler at this time, but the water today seems to have not been heated at all. Tisk, it got cold so quickly today. Really? Warm water washed over Shiraikurako's delicate body. The mirror not far away was hazy with mist, reflecting the hazy world. At 10 o'clock in the evening, it was time to turn off the lights in the dormitory. "Good night, Oni-sama," Shiraikurako, wearing cool pajamas, smiled at Misaka Mikado and turned off the lights. "Yes. Good night, Kurako." Just when Shiraikurako fell asleep, Misaka Mikado suddenly opened her eyes, and pale blue lightning flashed in her eyes. "Don't worry. It's only one day, 3 o'clock in the evening." Shiraikurako went to the bathroom in a daze, and then instinctively moved towards Misaka Mikado's bed. However, when approaching, he bypassed a bed and lay back on his own bed. July 30th. A day like any other. However, today Shiraikurako is going to participate in the work of the discipline committee. "What's wrong? Shirai-san, didn't you get enough rest last night? Why do you seem a little dazed?" As Yatsuharu Shikari was operating the computer, she tilted her head to look at Shiraikurako, who was absent-mindedly processing documents while sitting on the sofa. "Ah. It's okay, Hatsuharu, I don't know what's wrong with me, I always feel a sense of loss." Shiraikurako gently stroked her forehead. "Why don't you go back and rest first?" "No, I'll just rest here for a while, eh? Misaka-senpai? Is she waiting for someone here?" "What?" Shiraikurako, who seemed to be dying, suddenly jumped up excitedly, rushed to Hatsuharu Shikari, and looked at the screen. That was a surveillance system. The discipline committee had the right to mobilize some street surveillance systems to patrol the cloud. Hatsuharu Shikari was patrolling the cloud. However, she accidentally saw the figure of Misaka Mikado. In the picture, Misaka Mikado was sitting in the store they often went to, in that familiar position, with 2 drinks in front of her, as if waiting for someone. "What? I want to go over and take a look." "Wait a minute. Shirai-san, we still have a lot of work to do, and Misaka-senpai might be waiting for Satin-san and Kato-san." Hatsuharu Shikari grabbed Shiraikurako's wrist. If Shiraikurako went over now, it would undoubtedly cause more trouble. "Ah. Is it jealousy of Misaka Mikado? Is it a yearning for her brightness? Is that so? Is it true? I don't know. Because Misaka Kyoko doesn't know anything at all. She can't understand what she is doing now. She wants to see the person who saved her and gave her a name again. Why does she want to see him? I don't know. However, when she found out that the person would often meet a girl who looked exactly like her, she did this. Maybe, as those Misaka sisters said, she is trying to find their value." Chapter 196, Human-like and Non-Human. How are the preparations going? Ready. The artificial heaven is complete. In the center of Academy City, in a sealed building, the 2 behind-the-scenes masters of Academy City were communicating. "I heard, a material ran away." Leicester opened his eyes, and the unique figure in front of him was reflected in his inverted eyes. It was like between a human and an angel, with a human form, but it was impossible to see clearly, chaotic, and indescribable. This was also because Leicester himself was a monster comparable to an angel, so he could see the posture. If it were an ordinary mortal, he would only see Xia Yu's former face, because Xia Yu was used to that face. "It has nothing to do with you, Leicester." Xia Yu crossed his arms and looked forward. Countless figures overlapped in that small space. Men, women, old people, young people, saints, prisoners, all, billions of Leicester overlapped there, and pairs of eyes stared at Xia Yu. The overlapping parallels, there was not a person named Leicester, but an existence similar to an angel, named Leicester. "Here I just care about my allies. Of course, it doesn't matter, as long as there is no problem with the artificial heaven. I didn't expect you to care about me. The last time you took action, I was really scared and broke out in a cold sweat. Are you kidding? Can I make you sweat? I can't do it by myself. Even if those guys can do it, it's not necessarily true. You are just like me, extremely evil." Leicester raised his mouth and looked at Xia Yu in front of him. He was hailed as the greatest magician of the 20th century and the most extremely evil magician. What is the so-called extremely evil? How many people did he kill? No. Although he did kill many people and took many lives, this is simply insignificant for a magician. The reason why he was evaluated as the greatest sinner by the entire magic world is that he wants to destroy the world, and he seems to have such ability. He wants to destroy the old world, destroy the world of magic, he wants to end the era of magic, and he wants to trample on the supreme gods. Therefore, he is the most heinous sinner. He is the public enemy of the entire magic world, and all magicians want to kill him. Because he thinks so, dares to do so, and has the ability to do so. And he can also see that Xia Yu is the same. Xia Yu also dares to think, and seems to be making preparations under his nose. He doesn't know what kind of world Xia Yu wants to complete, but he knows that the intermediate goal of the two is the same. Before that goal is completed, no matter what kind of contradictions there are, it will not change the alliance between the two, including Aleister's attack on Xia Yu, and even Aleister may kill all those who are related to Xia Yu. That will make the relationship between the two extremely deteriorate and reach the freezing point, but it will not make the two completely turn against each other. And Xia Yu will not allow Aleister to do that. If a person is dead, then there is no value, and it is not worth turning against Aleister, but if he is still alive, he has to fight. If you want to attack and kill them, you must fight with Xia Yu first. After all, both sides are strong people of the same level, and no one can hide from anyone. Even at the other end of the universe, Xia Yu would rush to resist Aleister's harm the moment Aleister made a move. There was no aftermath. And the collision of concepts between the two would never hurt innocent people. This is the realm. I don't think you care about me. But, take care of your dog a little bit. Otherwise, I will chop him up. I won't doubt this. After all, you always do what you say. Suddenly, Aleister's eyes were dull for a moment, and in that moment, Aleister had died once. Xia Yu suddenly launched a sneak attack on Aleister, and the distorted world was directly launched, simulating Aleister's spiritual trip, and directly brought Aleister to a starry sky. The stars twinkled, and the worlds continued to shine like stars. With a light wipe of a palm, Aleister himself was wiped away like dust being wiped off by an eraser. This is real death, not the so-called fantasy, but real death. Based on Aleister's fantasy and his deep fantasy, Xia Yu simulated the power of the demon god and wiped it out. Its mass is about the same as 1/10 of the Big Bang. It is an attack on the spirit, which means that Aleister in that shell is dead. But Aleister is not completely dead. There are countless of him standing there. Even if he has been killed countless times, he is still alive. The concept of Aleister once again differentiates anew him and continues to pursue his own goals. This is the punishment for your last attack on me, very powerful. This move, the last time he attacked was because Aleister thought he could still crush Xia Yu with his strength, so he attacked. And now, as an ally of the same level who can kill him, Xia Yu is not very dissatisfied with his own death. After all, it's just a death. He doesn't care at all. Hey, I don't know how long you can hold on. Aleister, your own state is very unstable. Last time I attacked you, how long can you hold on this time? Xia Yu could see that the hundreds of millions of Aleister had begun to be close and distant. They were like people tied together by a rope, and now, the rope is about to break. It doesn't matter, Aleister's temperament changed, his eyes became firm and strange, he seemed to be praying, and it was as if he was shouting, our goal will not change, our pursuit will not waver, the Horus era will surely come, billions of Aleisters declared loudly, and the overlapping voices seemed to distort the world and form a substantial noise. The Horus era, Xia Yu knew. Aleister was influenced by Egyptian culture, and he named the world after 3 Egyptian gods, dividing the world into the Isis era, the Osiris era, and the Horus era. Aleister believed that before the birth of Christianity, that is, before the first year of the Common Era, it was the Isis era. And in the era ruled by Christianity, he called it the Osiris era. In 1904, when Awis taught him knowledge and asked him to write the original text of the Book of the Law, Aleister believed that the final judgment had come, the Horus era would replace the Osiris era, the rule of Christianity would surely perish, and mankind would usher in the complete liberation of thought and spirit and return to the self. This was learned from the communication between Awis and Xia Yu. Xia Yu's goal was the same as Aleister's, which was the Age of Horus, but unfortunately, the blueprints of the Age of Horus between the two were different. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197. Let's do this for now. What should I do? How long has it been? What will happen? Will it be impossible? Misaka Mikoto arranged a large bunk bed in the laboratory, which is a huge room that can accommodate 20,000 people. A culture tank similar to a massage chamber is placed one by one. Because all Misaka sisters are artificial people, their own genetic engineering is incomplete, and their lifespan generally does not exceed 10 years. In the culture tank, they are cultivated through potions and nanotechnology. Supplement subsequent physical defects and recover. Of course, not only artificial people, but also normal people will have only benefits and no harm. For example, Misaka Mikado is now lying in the original number 1 position. Although she felt comfortable all over her body, Misaka Mikado did not feel enjoyable. On the contrary, now she felt uncomfortable and hated all over. When she thought about the unknown situation outside, that Misaka Kyoko pretended to be her, the cat replaced the prince, Kyoko replaced Mikado, and chatted with her friends. The fake slept with Kurako and might even hurt her friends. She felt very uncomfortable. She wanted to rush out directly, rush to Takiwade, and slap that guy hard. However, Misaka Mikado also knew that it was impossible. Although it seemed that the other Misaka sisters had entered a dormant state, Misaka Mikado knew that as long as she stood up from here, she would undoubtedly see a Misaka forest. What is this called? Plant a Misaka and grow a forest? How did it grow? In the midst of distress, Misaka Mikado suddenly recalled some past events. At that time, she seemed to have donated DNA to a research institution. Is it that time? Misaka Mikado bit her lip lightly. She was now extremely anxious, and then she gritted her teeth and rushed out of the culture tank directly. Although she knew that she would definitely be stopped once she came out, but when Misaka Mikado saw the figures rushing out of the culture tank just 1 second slower than her, her expression became solidified. Please go back obediently, Misaka number 2. Misaka Kotoko stared at her, because she had just walked out of the culture tank, and she was not wearing clothes. The dark green potion stayed on her fair and delicate skin. That was exactly the same as Misaka Mikado's. There was no embarrassment on her face for being naked, but indifference. Hey! What on earth are you guys doing? What on earth is that Kyoko doing? Get out of the way. Sizzle sizzle. Misaka Mikado's heart was burning with anger at these artificial people who were exactly like her. The collision of electromagnetic forces in the air kept making sounds, and electric currents flashed in the air, and the atmosphere became quiet. Okay. That's it, Xia Yu walked in. When they saw Xia Yu, a trace of panic flashed in the eyes of all the Misaka sisters. Xia Yu looked at Misaka Mikado, or number 1, who is nominally Misaka Kyoko? Kyoko, stop making trouble, go back obediently. Moreover, even if she covered it up, the other Misaka sisters did not cover it up either. They were actually the same. Hey. You guys, cover it up, no need. Misaka Kotoko on the side tilted her head and unconsciously bought a cute face with a face that was exactly the same as Misaka Mikado. Hey. Misaka Mikado instinctively used her own hand to cover Misaka Kotoko's, but a fiery gaze was fixed on Misaka Mikado. Like a hungry wolf in the middle of the night. It was locked on Misaka Mikado's delicate body. For a moment, Misaka Mikado's brain could not handle the current situation, causing the brain to crash and be very confused. I don't know when Xia Yu came behind Misaka Mikado, with a smirk on his mouth, and stretched out his hand to pat Misaka Mikado's delicate buttocks. Just one word, cool. Although Misaka Mikado looks like a piece of iron, it actually feels super good, soft, delicate and comfortable. You, Misaka Mikado pointed at Xia Yu with her right hand, her tongue seemed to be tied, and she couldn't say a word. What's wrong? Are you estranged? I personally rescued you from that guy accelerator and gave you the name, Kyoko. Xia Yu smiled evilly and stretched out his hand to rub Misaka Mikado's buttocks, while Misaka Mikado's brain nerves had not yet reacted. But. Asshole, what are you doing? Let me go, I'm Misaka Mikado. Misaka Mikado retreated to one side, shouting as she retreated. The other Misaka sisters held her and pushed her back. Master, Kyoko seems to have a memory disorder, we are adjusting it through the Misaka network, Misaka Kotoko said immediately. Oh? Is that so? No wonder. Then you guys should work hard. Xia Yu smiled slightly, touched Misaka Kotoko's body, played with it gently, blew a breeze in her ears, and said, it seems that you have grown up too? You can eat it. Misaka Kotoko's delicate body suddenly trembled, and many confused thoughts appeared in her eyes. Well, let's talk about it later. I have to deal with something now. So, don't do any more actions, that's it. Xia Yu's words were very gentle, and there was no serious order, but it made Misaka Kitoko's expression solemn. Everything she did before was to cover up that Misaka Mikado was not Misaka Kyoko, but it seemed that Xia Yu already knew it. And because of what Xia Yu said just now, Misaka Kitoko also had some other ideas, and she began to waver about the original plan. Originally, they wanted to find the meaning of their existence. Although they were very important, they themselves did not know it. So, they released Misaka Kyoko and let this big sister find it. And they imprisoned Misaka Mikado to assist in the operation. However, if Xia Yu, who saved them in the first place, needed them, does that mean they have a meaning of existence? She hesitated, so she chose to be conservative. Just as Xia Yu said, let's do it this way for now. Chapter 198. I ate this display screen right there in early spring. August 1st. Something's wrong. Very wrong. Shirai Kurako lay on the sofa of the discipline committee with a puzzled expression, constantly thinking. Although it was only a few days, she had a very awkward feeling. It always felt very strange, just like wearing too thick panties. Shirai Kurako's ability needs concentration to be activated, and for her, the lighter the better, and clothes with strong friction will interfere with the use of her ability. So she instinctively came up with this metaphor. Click, the door was opened, and Hatsuharu Shikari walked in with a stack of documents. Seeing Shirai Kurako's sad face, she asked, Shirai-san? What's wrong? Did you encounter something? No, I just feel that Onisama has been a little strange these days, but it's obviously Onisama. Appearance, ability, height, measurements. Shirai Kurako suddenly stood up excitedly. How to say it? Hatsuharu Shikari is no longer surprised. Now it seems that Shirai Kurako is still the same Shirai Kurako. But I always feel that something is wrong, it's very awkward, it's just like wearing safety pants. Shirai Kurako bit her thumb and said with some distress. Hey, Hatsuharu, use the computer to turn on the surveillance to let me see what Onisama is doing. At this time, Onisama should be outside, should be reading free comics in the comic store. Well, it is true that reading books in the bookstore is indeed something that Misaka Mikado likes to do very much. That's not good. That's not our area. It's against the rules to do this. The discipline committee members only have the authority to use the surveillance equipment in their own area, and whether it is cross-border patrol or anything else, it is against the rules. Not to mention using other people's surveillance, this is definitely not authorized, and it must be hacked in through Hatsuharu Shikari's means. Oh Hatsuharu, you are not afraid of being discovered by the chairman and then spanked. A curve crossed the corners of Shirai Kurako's mouth, and he used provocation to stimulate Hatsuharu Shikari. Everyone always has his own pride, and when others question him, even if there is a trap in front of him, he will jump in to prove his ability. Impossible, this is not the first time I have done this, the chairman can't find me, and he won't spank me. Hatsuharu Shikari's face was red, he raised his head and chest, put his hands on his hips, and said firmly. Oh, is that so? Maybe he has found out, but because it was Hatsuharu Shikari, he didn't say it. A trace of cunning flashed in Shirai Kurako's eyes, and the curve of his mouth was like a fox. Humph, I can't be discovered by the chairman. If the chairman can find me, Hatsuharu Shikari, will eat my computer screen. Hatsuharu Shikari pointed at his computer, raised his head and chest, and swore with confidence. I don't believe it. You won't be discovered if you don't do it, unless you show it to me. If you are not discovered, I will treat you to a giant sundae in Hatsuharu. Shirai Kurako then offered an inducement based on the provocation. Oh, giant sundae, that was a very expensive dessert. Hatsuharu Shiri had wanted to eat it for a long time. She had originally planned to eat it after the bonus was distributed this month. No way. Is Hatsuharu scared? Afraid of being discovered by the chairman? Who is afraid? The chairman is very powerful, but on the computer. 100 chairmen are no match for me, just watch. Hatsuharu Shikari sat directly in front of the computer, her 10 fingers flexibly typing on the keyboard, making bursts of noises, and strings of codes appeared on the computer screen. HMPH, a smile appeared on Shirai Kurako's lips. It is impossible to make Hatsuharu Shikari give in with just inducements, but if provocation is added, the possibility of success is very high. Of course, in fact, this is also because it is Shirai Kurako, otherwise it would be impossible. As for Hatsuharu Shikari being discovered by Xia Yu, Impossible. Even though that provocation was used, Shirakurako didn't believe that Xia Yu could discover a super hacker like Hatsuharu Shikari. However, just as Shirakurako thought he was talking nonsense at the beginning, Xia Yu really knew everything, but he didn't care because it was Hatsuharu Shikari. With Hatsuharu Shikari's operation, he hacked into the terminals in other areas without a trace, and quickly transferred to the place that Shirakurako wanted to see. Huh? Big sister is not here? Shirakurako raised an eyebrow and quickly scanned the crowd, but did not find Misaka Mikado. Did Misaka-senpai go to the game hall today? Probably not. After all, Onisama's favorite comic is updated today. But Onisama may have other things to do, forget it. Hatsuharu? Just as Shirakurako was speaking, the computer screen went black, and a series of blood-red characters appeared in front of Hatsuharu Shiri and Shirakurako. The internet is not a lawless place. 000 Hatsuharu Shiri's cell phone rang quickly, and the caller was Chairman. A panicked look appeared on Hatsuharu Shiri's face. The words on the screen and the incoming call on the phone told her the seriousness of the matter. Hello. A weak voice followed Hatsuharu Shiri's answer. Xia Yu's gentle voice came from the other end of the phone. Hatsuharu, it's not appropriate to always hack into your own network. Come to my office and let's talk. Do you think it would be easier to eat with some ketchup? Woo. Shirakuraka's slightly joking ridicule made Hatsuharu look bitter. Of course, Shirakurako was just joking. After all, it was because she asked Hatsuharu Shiri for help that things got to this point. Well, Shiri-san, I'll be over first. Please take care of these documents first. On the other side, Xia Yu just put his mobile phone on the table. Woo-boom, is anyone coming later? Or I'll go out first. The crisp voice of Iino Maiko came from under the table. Huh? No, you want me to be stuck like this, hey. But someone is coming soon, there's still 10 minutes, but you need at least half an hour. And can't you control it? Milk spurted out, and Iino Maiko's face was covered with the milky white milk. Her original school uniform also became slightly wet and stuck to her skin. Where else can you go now? I'll take you home in the evening. Or, you can go now. After feeling Iino Maiko sucking on the straw again and playing with the milk with her tongue, Xia Yu showed a very comfortable smile on his face. Or should I say, shit? Chapter 199 Turning Point? August 2nd. These few days have been a nightmare for Misaka Mikado. She has been with herself with lifeless eyes, and was molested by Xia Yu yesterday. The most important thing is the uneasiness about the situation outside. Information can be said to be one of the initial motivations of human beings. Only with certain information can human beings take action. When the information known about a certain thing is in the bad side and has not been obtained, then they will instinctively feel uneasy. When everything is unknown, people will instinctively be afraid. Fear will make human beings instinctively think in the direction of their own fear, and that will be even more terrifying. Now Misaka Mikado is trapped in such a vicious circle. The worry about her friends and the worry about her own situation made her mood very dark. She instinctively felt that everything was very dangerous. So far, she herself can't see any hope. In the short few days in this laboratory, through the communication with those researchers, she has also gained a little understanding of this place. But this little understanding almost made her feel a huge fear. Council. The origin of this laboratory was approved by the council. It was not a so-called private research institute at all. It was directly under the council, and the main person in charge was Xia Yu, one of the members of the General Council. Although she knew that Xia Yu was the chairman of the discipline committee and that this guy held a lot of power, she didn't expect that his power was far beyond Misaka Mikado's imagination. In this kind of city, even elementary school students know that the General Council is the core of the entire city, the ruler of the entire city, and the center of power in the city. In Misaka Mikado's impression, officials in such places should all be kind-looking, elderly and heavy-hearted grandfathers, and Xia Yu was actually one of them. And before, Misaka Mikado always thought that as a level 5, she was able to fight against it, such as one person against the enemy, fighting and talking about peace. However, from the mouths of those researchers and some randomly placed documents, Misaka Mikado found that these so-called level 5s were simply vulnerable to the city. In those materials, it seems that there are professional countermeasures for each level 5. They are extremely familiar with superpowers. With the help of the information they have, they can easily defeat any ability user. Except Xia Yu. Of course, Misaka Mikado does not believe that he is invincible. There must be information or something, but it was hidden by that guy. But this is not important. What is important is that after seeing those information, Misaka Mikado became unconfident about herself. After realizing the power of the Behemoth Academy City, she felt the oppression of being an enemy. Just thinking about it makes Misaka Mikado almost unable to breathe. There is a saying that sometimes knowing too much is not a good thing and will make oneself unfortunate. However, the truth of this sentence is actually, knowing too much and being unable to change it will make you unfortunate. This misfortune does not come from knowing too much, but from one's own powerlessness. And the happiness when you don't know is actually just a false scam. Of course, Misaka Mikado will not give up. Giving up is just a cowardly act. It's just that after learning more, she needs a more perfect plan. When strength cannot be relied on, you can only rely on wisdom. She became obedient, and she made up her mind to wait for the opportunity to escape in order to numb the attention of these people. For her, the condition for victory was just to escape and expose the imposter. As for the things here, that would be considered later. If she could get out, she could expose it directly to the public or by any other means. If she couldn't get out, it would be just a thought. Because the imposter was suspected of running away, Misaka Mikado had to be more obedient, so Misaka Mikado was ready, determined at all costs. Put it on number 1, a researcher walked towards Misaka Mikado with a pair of handcuffs. Misaka Mikado knew that thing was an ability blocker, and Misaka Mikado didn't know what the principle was. Anyway, if she was handcuffed, even she couldn't use her ability. What are you doing? Misaka Mikado felt a little uneasy. However, she didn't resist. A pair of eyes were sweeping over her vaguely, and she was powerless to resist. The shackles were handcuffed on her hands, and she felt nothing. However, once Misaka Mikado wanted to use her abilities, she would feel out of control and could not control her ability. Number 1, come with me. 3 days later, Misaka Mikado walked out of the laboratory for the first time. In this white corridor similar to a hospital, the researcher led the way in front, and Misaka Mikado followed behind. She looked around without leaving any traces. There was no one else, but there were several surveillance cameras. Misaka Mikado began to think quickly. If she took action now, according to Misaka Mikado's fighting level with the gangsters, she could knock down the man in front of her in an instant. However, if she wanted to escape, there were great unknowns, because her abilities were blocked, so she could not use her abilities to break through the wall and escape. Not to mention the security forces in this place, whether it was the clones or Xia Yu who seemed to be sitting here, Misaka Mikado's attitude could not deal with them. I can only go with him to see. Misaka Mikado's heart sank, and she rejected the idea of escaping now. She followed a researcher around the institute for a few circles and stopped outside an office. Director's office. Misaka Mikado's pupils shrank suddenly. Director? Could it be Xia Yu? Why did you bring me here? Could it be? A terrible thought came to Misaka Mikado's mind. According to her usual understanding of Xia Yu, this was a very likely possibility. She might lose her virginity. But she couldn't resist, and she had made all preparations. Click, the door opened, and in the door, an acquaintance was waiting. Hey Kyoko, you are. Misaka Mikado remembered the girl in front of her, who was the one who prompted her to start the investigation at that time. You go back first. I want to provide psychological counseling for Kyoko, Fatsuki Tashin said to the researcher. Yes, with the departure of the researcher, Misaka Mikado and Fatsuki Tashin were the only ones left in this office. Kyoko, sit down. Misaka Mikado remained calm and sat opposite Fatsuki Tashin. Although she knew the person in front of her, it was only a one-time encounter after all, so Misaka Mikado chose to remain silent. Fatsuka Tashin smiled and said, Misaka Mikado, huh? Hello, nice to meet you for the first time. No, it's the second time. My name is Fatsuka Tashin. I opened a new book of Type Moon fanfiction on Hedgehog Meow, and I'm going to promote it myself. It's called Grand Rider's Journey in Salmon by Listening to the Will of God. Friends who like this book don't have to worry, the book will continue to be updated. Thank you for your support. Chapter 200 Prove That I Am Me? When Fatsuki Tashin called out this name, Misaka Mikado stood up instinctively. Don't get excited. Sit down first. Fatsuki Tashin knew that she had guessed right. Since she returned to the institute a few days ago and heard that Misaka Kyoko was caught, she knew that something was wrong. However, Because of Misaka Kyoko's escape before, Fatsuki Toshin wanted to see her but couldn't. After all, although she was the director of this place, it was just an empty title. Even if Xia Yu didn't restrict her, she couldn't make the final decision alone. After applying for a few days, it was only just now that she got permission. Got Xia Yu's permission. However, she still had doubts about her previous thoughts. After all, she didn't see the battle process at that time. Maybe she was caught back. After all, there was almost no time difference. At that point, it was incredible to use the original body to replace it. However, after observing for a few days, through Misaka Mikado's behavior, her doubts could not be resolved. In the end, she called Misaka Mikado and tested it. The result of the test was incredible. Although it was not 100% certain that it was Misaka Mikado, this attitude and this feeling were really unlike Misaka Kyoko. The fact that they could hide it from everyone should be attributed to the contributions of the Misaka sisters. After all, there was a deeper connection between them, the Misaka network. A more terrifying idea came to Batsuko Toshin's mind, that is, the Misaka sisters were in the same group with Misaka Kyoko. What were they plotting? Just like the artificial intelligence in science fiction movies that had generated wisdom, they were plotting something very important, and even hid it from everyone. However, this idea was still uncertain, and Batsuko Toshin had to confirm that the one in front of him was Misaka Mikado herself. To be honest, I can't confirm that you are the real person now, you have to prove it to me. Batsuko Toshin's slender jade fingers crossed his fingers, his eyes revealed a shrewd look, and he looked at Misaka Mikado, as if waiting for her reaction. Huh? Misaka Mikado looked confused. She had no idea how to prove that she was herself? This operation was really too crude. In fact, Fatsuki Toshin was also thinking about this problem. The so-called certificates were not credible. After all, with Misaka Kyoko's level 5 electromagnetic force, any certificate could not be forged through instruments. And the so-called pupils and fingerprints stored on the internet. They were not credible either, for the same reason. For a LV5 electromagnetic force superpower, the internet was no different from a lawless place. But how could Misaka Mikado prove herself? When all the evidence was unreliable, how could she prove who she was? It was basically impossible. Hey, proving this kind of thing. Checking pupils, fingerprints, DNA is very simple, Misaka Mikado said naturally. As an ordinary citizen, she naturally and instinctively recalled the normal method for information. Do you know? Misaka Kyoko is also a level 5 superpower, just like the original. She is also an electromagnetic force electric shock user, so what? Misaka Mikado stopped talking, and it was obvious that she also thought of the role of electromagnetic force on the internet. The scene fell into dead silence, and the two looked at each other, but there was nothing they could do. What should I do? Misaka Mikado pulled her hair in annoyance, bit her lips lightly, and looked unhappy. From being recognized, it seemed that she was about to get out of the predicament, to now being unable to prove herself. The situation is deadlocked, and her mood has gone from low to high and then to low like a roller coaster, which makes her very upset. And Fatsuko Toshin is also very upset, but because of her habits as a scientific researcher, she will not show it. Judgment of the person in front of him. The performance is very sincere, and all kinds of movements and expressions are very normal, just like the feeling of being imprisoned. Judging from the emotional aspect, the person in front of him is undoubtedly Misaka Mikado. But what? She is a scientific researcher, to believe in the intuition of emotional judgment? She can't accept that before there is solid evidence, everything may be false. So, naturally, they are deadlocked here. Let's do this. Fatsuki Toshin's eyes became firm, and he made up his mind. He said to Misaka Mikado, I will treat you as the real one. Next, I will go to my superiors and release you. Fatsuki Toshin took a gamble. Although there was no evidence to prove that the person in front of her was indeed the real one who was framed, she could not accept the possibility of a cat-and-mouse substitution. She decided to advocate the release of Misaka Mikado. As for the consequences of a wrong gamble, in the final analysis, it was just a resignation, which was not a serious consequence. And even if the person in front of her was the real Misaka Kyoko, she was released. If the higher-ups could catch her once, they could catch her a second time. But if this was really the real one, then the problem would be serious. After all, no matter how much Fatsuki Toshin thought that the Misaka sisters were people, She could not deny that they were clones, and their existence was not allowed by the social order. The clones replaced the real ones. Once the truth came out, the consequences would be serious. In a small way, Academy City violated international law and sanctions were imposed. In a big way, it was possible that countries suspected that their leaders had been replaced, and wars would be launched. This kind of problem is a big deal. However, she is obviously just a researcher, not a politician, and she doesn't understand. So she just wants to solve the incident, not to conclude it. I am the real one. Misaka Mikado is speechless. As her LV5 Esper, this is the first time she has fallen into such a situation. You go back first. I will report to my superiors. I will go now. Although she was still a little irritated, Misaka Mikado still felt grateful to the girl in front of her. From despair, a glimmer of hope rose. It was almost like this feeling. That? Thank you. You're welcome. Fatsuko Tashin also had some strange feelings. It must be said that she was also very tired, but according to her intuition and rational analysis, she would definitely be more tired next. After all, the next thing to deal with is that troublesome superior. You go back first. Misaka Mikado was taken out of the office, and Fatsuko Tashin picked up the phone and dialed. Moshimoshi? What's wrong? Kotobuki, boss, I want to report something to you about Misaka Kyoko who was captured a few days ago. Oh? Sure, go ahead, let's have a face-to-face meeting. Over the phone, it may not be clear. Oh my god, I thought I had sent it yesterday, but it turned out to be a mistake. It's in the background. Otherwise, it might have been sent in the group and I wouldn't have known about it. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.